You are watching Sound Candy Talk live.
Tonight, the show that gives you an opportunity to air what you feel and think about the latest development on our political front. Well, a lot is taking place so fast. Therefore, everybody must work hard to stay on the cutting edge as far as making sense of our politics is concerned, and of course, remaining on top of all matters. Tonight, this is Sound Candy Talk Live. 72 people have cast their vote on.
Tunaingia vijijini, mijini na hata jijini kukuletea taarifa mchana kutwa. Usiku tunaketi kitako, tunadadavua tukichanganua taarifa na makala muhimu yanayokuhusu wewe na familia yako. Ungana na Bernard Ngozi kwenye Open Forum Political Show kuanzia saa 4 usiku hadi dakika zake kila siku ya wiki kwenye
You are watching Sound Candy Talk live.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Sound Candy Talk, the home of everyone and the home where everyone is feel free to express and to give his opinion and his words too. Tonight we're going to have an amazing show tonight, and we're having a discussion tonight that we'll be checking it out for the outcome of the day. And in the outcome of the day, we're having a lot on our desk that we'll be sharing and we're having a discussion over it. So I want to welcome you all. Feel free and feel being part and parcel of this, as even we're having the great conversation tonight.
You are watching Sound Candy Talk live.
Thank you. Feel free and feel to share your opinions too, and feel to share your views too, because they matter too and they are concerned to us too. Also, as even we are having a good conversation tonight, because tonight we are having the tricky conversation over the matters that have been raised up throughout the day. So tonight we'll be having the great lineup for you. And for those who are joining up the show, please use the link on the comment section. Let us be early as possible, because tonight we are having I'm having a lot to share with, and I don't want you to miss, so that we can move on together. And on tonight's desk, we are having a lot of discussions over the matters that have been raising up. Okay, which is the driving of the day is all about Kindiki facing back the story of one term, saying that our president is not for one term. Apart from that one, we see also another one is Kalonzo Musyoka also saying that to support one term. So we're having the two-sided. Kindiki defending for 2 terms, Kalonzo saying for 1 term, because now we are just only matters about the coming election, not even about the Mwananchi, not even about anything else. But now we are so much concerned and we are so much possessed with the next coming elections. What is your opinion about that? Do you feel like Kenya is doing good to start begin fighting for right now for the next coming elections, or decide now to be building Kenya and making Kenya go ahead? As to also apart from that one, we'll be checking up the story of Rigathi G in Western region today, bringing the cousins in Western region. Watu wa Western in Mwafikia. Now you have become among the cousins That's what Rigathi said today, and we'll be also checking that and saying that we want time. Well, Kindiki is confessing, saying that these people are just speaking like this because they don't know what they're speaking. They're just throwing words. Sorry for those for the coming late, but tonight that's one of the run up, and also checking out why is the media being closed? Okay, they have come out with a strategy where say by the CS Williams saying that he will be giving up the updates. And we will be seeing the updates that and the regulation that Williams has put in a place to make sure that every live broadcast will not be able to broadcast like the way Mandamano was happening in Nairobi CBD last previous 25th. And apart from that one, we're seeing also other cries still being raised for justice, and also be joining up with the new gang later. But for now, let us begin with the first segment with a lot more that has been happening throughout the Kenya. I'll be bringing up the updates of the day. Then after the update of the day, we will be checking out the analysis of the day, because there's a lot that is happening and there's a lot that is getting on to our nation. So I want to welcome you all. Feel free and be filled by part and parcel of this, as even we having the great conversation together, and we're having the great conversation tonight, because tonight we are here to learn and to get to understand more, because more is cooking and more is here with me on my desk tonight. So I want to welcome you. Feel free and be part and parcel of this, as even we're doing the extension to bring everything to the desk and to it. I know people will be joining me up from the other side of the studio and from the other end of the world, so don't worry out or behind the scene. We are having Kibali launch on behind the scenes tonight. So tonight I know my struggle. Also Bernard is on the other side of the studio of the diaspora, and it will be good. Well, they will be joining up later. But for those who are here, use the link to join up with the studio so that we can have the great conversation tonight with you. Conversation heart to heart, talk to talk, making sure that Kenya may in a good place and a better space. This always Bernard says, this is a place where you're free to share your opinion and your good words or your views towards our political front. We are bringing up everything into order in our nation. So I want to welcome you. Feel free and feel true patriotic to being part and parcel of this. For tonight, we are having the great and amazing moment. So tonight on our headlines, this is what the story that happens. Our headlines.
You are watching Sound Candy Talk live.
Police Service has asked blogger Diang'ui Kinyagia to record a statement at DCI headquarters. The police directive came hours after the High Court barred the National Police Service from arresting and detaining Diang'ui until he interacts with his family and lawyers and returns to court on 18th of July 2025, when further directions will be issued. Diang'ui appeared at the Milimani Law Courts moments after his lawyer, Wahome Thuku, disclosed that he had hidden temporarily for fear of his life on learning that DCI officers were looking for him over criminal allegations. Seth Olale followed the proceedings and filed this report.
Diang'ui Kinyagia was embraced by his family when he made a surprise appearance at the Milimani Law Courts. His entry into the courtroom, coming a few hours after his lawyer, Wahome Thuku, revealed that he had contacted a family member from an undisclosed location, stating that he was well, healthy and safe. The blogger, who showed up almost clean-shaven, looking slightly different from his photo that had circulated on social media, was in deep thought as he waited for the presiding judge to enter the courtroom.
Okay, yes, I'm seeing now.
His mother, Margaret Rukwaro, did not hide her joy as she sat next to her son, who she last communicated with 13 days ago through his mobile phone. A few minutes after Diang'ui resurfaced, DCI boss Mohammed Amin arrived in court to honor summons requiring him to appear physically over Diang'ui's disappearance. Lawyers representing the blogger, led by senior counsel Martha Karua, pleaded with the court to have Ndiang'ui seek medical attention and interact with family and attorneys, saying he is weak and vulnerable.
It's also about for the rule of law and for the safety and well-being of everyone.
Justice Chacha Mwita restraining the National Police Service from arresting and detaining Ndiang'ui until he returns to the courtroom on 18th July for further directions.
The second petitioner may be presented to the DCI officers to record a statement if need be, and it should be presented by his advocate, but he should not be arrested or detained.
Once we have a briefing with him as to what has been happening to him for 1 week, we will be able to advise him on what to say, what not to say.
So if not for the judge, Mr. Ndiang'ui Kinyagia would have not been saved from the jaws of death.
The police service, however, issued a statement requiring the blogger to record a statement at DCI headquarters saying he remained a person of interest, but did not specify the date and time. Police spokesman Mushiri Nyaga in a statement saying the force took great exception to the emerging trend where individuals feign abduction and provide false information to the police to generate a misleading narrative that exploits public outrage. The Director of Criminal Investigations, Mohammed Amin, who honored Thursday's court summon, is also expected to inform the same court whether Ndiang'ui Kinyagia is still a person of interest following his dramatic appearance in court. Seth Olale, Citizen TV, Milimani Local.
That's one of the headline hitters tonight. We'll still have to check it out also tonight because the young man has been found and is well. But we are saying that if it's the person of interest, please set out what is the interest do you have over this young man. Okay, that's one of the story, one of the headline hitters tonight. Apart from that one, we still have another headline hitters tonight whereby another youth also, and also police starts over the Mandamano of Albert Ojwang. Okay, today was the day that Albert Ojwang was being taken home, and also this happened in Homa Bay, whereby the youth decided to march to the police station where Albert Ojwang was first arrested and taken to. Let us watch out this.
Into an explosion of anger in Homa Bay County and torching of a police station. Residents who came to receive the body of their son of the soil ended up carrying his coffin to Mawego police station, where he was last seen alive, and setting the police station on fire. Ojwang, who was arrested last month by DCI officers, was first taken to Mawego police station after he was picked up from his home and later tortured and killed while in custody at Nairobi Central Police Station. Melita Oletinges has more.
Sorrow turned into fury. Mawego police station went up in flames. Reduced to ashes by angry residents who had come to receive the body of Albert Ojwang, a young teacher whose life ended in police custody under disturbing circumstances. The irate crowd, including students from Mawego Technical Training Institute, overpowered the officers, forcing them to flee as the station burned with all police records at the station. A house belonging to a police officer was also partly razed by the inferno. The police station signage was ripped down. The police barricade spikes too became props for the protests. Earlier in the day, residents blocked the funeral convoy for the late Albert Ojwang at Leader Center, refusing it to allow to proceed. Their demand that the coffin be taken back to Mawego, the last place Ojwang was seen alive, as a symbol of protest and demand for justice. For more than 3 hours, the crowd held up the convoy before taking matters into their own hands, literally, lifting Albert's coffin from the hearse and marched to Mawego police station and unleashed their rage. According to Homa Bay County Police Commander Lawrence Koilem, no officer was injured during the incident and no weapons were stolen. Albert was arrested from his home last month by DCI officers before being taken to Mawego police station and later transferred to Nairobi's Central Police Station, where he was tortured and killed. Albert Ojwang will be laid to rest tomorrow at his family home in Kakonyo, but tensions remain high as locals vow not to rest until justice is served. Melita Oletenges, Citizen TV.
This is a story of Ojwang Albert, which is sitting in the headlines also, whereby they decided to protest today also up to Mawego police station. And as we're speaking right now, the Mawego police station is burned up to flames. This is because of the angry protesters or angry Kenyans who are still condemning the behaviors that police did for Albert. And then they are saying that they will not stop it until justice is being served for it. So I'm still checking this matter is getting all hot, and it's getting more and more and more. So if the government will not be careful, they will be ending up inside a ditch that they will even not be able to get out of. So they have to be careful, they have to stand out, and they have to be very, very vigilant, and also bring out the justice and set out everything clear. Because if you don't set out everything clear, this protest will continue until everything is set out clear, and those who are responsible, or for those who are found guilty, the justice is being served. But if not that, I promise you, the government will not have peace, because this way protesters are standing up, this shows that they are not even trying to come even low very soon. I was really believing that we also tell out about the postmortem for other people, Gen Zs, who were killed, and their postmortem has come out that found that they were shot. Let us check out this report, then we'll have the discussion over it.
Conducted on bodies of two youth, Joseph Ndengui and Brian Dungu, who were shot during the June 25th Gen Z protest, has revealed that they died as a result of bullet wounds. At the same time, the church continues to push for dialogue between the Kenya Kwanza administration and the youth in an effort to curb further loss of lives. This is Kamamwangi reporting.
In Othaya Nyeri County, a post-mortem exercise conducted at the Moi Kibaki Farewell Home on the body of Joseph Ndengui has revealed that the 27-year-old succumbed to excess bleeding in his lungs after a bullet pierced through his right arm and exited on his chest.
Jose yako kwa hiyo maandamano, na hata inasemekana hata wenye walikuwa kwa hiyo maandamano wako vijana hapa Othaya. So tunataka hiyo uchunguzi ukamilike vizuri kulingana na pande ya polisi. Juu sasa pande ya postmortem ishakamilika, hata pande ya polisi wakamilishe uchunguzi yao na kila mmoja apate haki yake.
A similar exercise conducted on the body of 17-year-old Brian Dungu by pathologist Taita Ngulungu at the JM Kariuki Funeral Home in Nyandarua concluded that the deceased succumbed to 2 gunshot wounds on his right upper back. The killing of Brian had resulted in the torching of the Okalau police station.
Haki ya mtoto wangu ipatikane juu ni mtoto mdogo. Hakuwa ameenda kuimba, kufuluga, alikuwa kazi yake tu. Na kwa serikali sijapata mtu wa kuniuliza swali kuhusu huyo mtoto.
Imekuwa so painful since Wednesday. Na tunaomba tu tafadhali, like a presenting Gen Z, hii hatutaacha hivyo. Wacha na haki ipatikane.
And as the death toll from Wednesday's protests rise, the church has continued to pressure the government to find a way of engaging Kenya's youth. Clergy drawn from the larger Rift Valley has sought President William Ruto's intervention to avert further death.
We call on our leaders to provide a supportive request that we all take responsibility to mentor and guide youth to a prosperous future. We need to set up an environment for this generation to feel at ease, and also so that we can tap what they have, because they are a resource.
Kamamwangi, Citizen TV.
That's also what happened today, and also that what happened also. As we're living also that, let us check out this also. This is also one of the reports that has been hitting the heads tonight. This is about the story of one young man who was shot with the rubber bullet on the head, and he faced the death after 2 weeks. Let us check out. This is the reactions up right now and the far things have gone.
The street vendor known for selling face masks died from severe head injuries caused by a single close-range gunshot. An autopsy conducted today revealed that 4 bullet fragments remained lodged in his brain, a testimony of the severity of the impact of the shooting. And as Citizen TV's Ben Kirui now reports, 2 police officers linked to the incident were arraigned but did not take plea to allow prosecutors to investigate and prefer murder charges. Ben Kirui reports.
2 days after he was officially pronounced dead following 12 days in the intensive care unit at the Kenyatta National Hospital, an autopsy has confirmed that Boniface Kariuki Mwangi, a street vendor injured during recent anti-government protest, died from severe head injuries caused by a single close-range gunshot.
The brain is quite disturbed, and the chances of survival are very, very, very minimal.
The post-mortem conducted by a team led by government pathologist Dr. Bernard Media and family-appointed pathologist Dr. Peter Ndegwa revealed that 4 bullet fragments remained lodged in Mwangi's brain. Doctors had previously removed 2 other fragments while he was still alive.
There were still some particles in the brain. They are rubbery and blackish, and the brain is quite destroyed.
They could have not removed them by that time due to the damage. Ilikuwa ndani, walisema iko ndani sana, tukiguza ataaga. Lakini saa after kuambiwa hivyo, tulikaa siku moja, tukaambiwa saa tena fikra nayo imeaga.
While the autopsy confirmed the cause of death, it could not definitively determine the exact time of death. Pathologists noted that Mwangi's brain may have ceased functioning before his death was officially communicated to his family on Sunday.
We may not know really, but the brain is quite necrotic, and maybe in the course of the treatment sometime maybe the brain really died.
Meanwhile, 2 police officers linked to the shooting were arraigned in court on Thursday. Plea taking was adjourned to next Thursday after prosecutors requested additional time to investigate and prefer murder charges against the officers given the new developments. Officials from the Independent Policing Oversight Authority (IPOA) attended the autopsy and are expected to forward their findings to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions or DPP to support potential criminal charges. Mwangi's family is now calling for a swift and transparent investigation as they prepare to lay him to rest next Friday. With the autopsy complete and its findings confirming what has long been obvious, the family can now begin to move forward towards closing this painful chapter, though not without seeking justice and accountability from the officers involved. Ben Kirui, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
The story of one mask vendor also bring out another discussion tonight that we'll be having it. But first, as we are moving on swiftly, let us go back to the headline hitters of the day. One of the headline of the hitters of the day is all about the channels and the board of media, whereby the Waziri Williams gives the speech today all over the media about the broadcasting, saying that we will not be allowing the TVs to be broadcasting the way things were on Mandaman last week. And also they'll say that they will also make sure that there's no be live streaming for such a kind of events causing trauma to kids. Let us watch out this as this man speaks out.
Its control over the media, the government has introduced stringent rules to regulate live broadcasting. The proposals, termed by a section of members of parliament as draconian, seek to muzzle the media. The ICT Cabinet Secretary William Kabogo maintains that the government was justified in switching off media houses on June 25th to allegedly protest to protect children against the violence which was being broadcast live on mainstream television stations. Emmanuel Toh reports.
A week after the government pulled the plug on all leading media houses in the country, stopping the live streaming of the events, of the June 25th, 2024 anniversary demonstrations, the ICT Cabinet Secretary William Kabogo says the move was taken to defend minors against live broadcast of deaths, injuries, and destruction of property.
Generally, the main reason of switching off was within the parameters of the watershed period. There was a lot of violence being aired on national TV. And that violence, in my mind, within what we have said, was being aired when children and such like persons were watching TV.
The CS adding that the events, which were largely peaceful, spiraled out of control towards Wednesday afternoon, forcing the Communications Authority to enforce the ban.
When the violence became too much, the committee responsible for advising me did advise that there's a lot of violence being aired on air, and it is going also to children.
The CS was at pains to explain under which law the order was given, admitting to a lacuna in the existing legislation.
How do we situate it in a way that it is not left to the whims of the CS?
Provide for circumstances in which live streaming can be stopped and when it cannot be stopped.
We should be able to, as the Honorable Watch has said, to be able to put it in black and white under what circumstances.
Kabogo, who was appearing before the National Assembly Committee on Delegated Legislation, revealing that the ministry was in the last-minute push to introduce further stringent measures to govern the live streaming of activities by media houses. Section 11 of the new regulation seeks to amend the Media Council Act and states that a media enterprise shall incorporate a minimum 7 seconds delay in live broadcasts to prevent the unintended publication of material that violates this code. The regulation further adding that a person subject to this act shall be responsible for hate speech published or disseminated on their platform. The Media Council Act stipulates punitive penalty for anybody who breaches the proposed legislation, saying that a person convicted of going against this law is liable to a fine between 200,000 shillings and 1 million shillings, or an imprisonment for a term between 6 months and 1 year. The media owners and managers are also subject to the same penalties.
When the CS says that you can shoot to kill outside a police station, anyone who comes to the police station, shoot them. It is live, and the media reporters are there with their cameras. Are they now responsible for that comment?
A week ago, the Interior CS Kipchumba Murkomen also blamed the media for funding the chaotic demos. The ministry has been directed to rework the legislation and present it afresh before enforcing it. The new regulation comes at a time when another bill to regulate demos is also in the works. Emmanuel Toh, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
That's what's happening inside our nation. The ultimate what is putting it up for it. We're still checking out more details that are coming out from the updates on everything that has been going on. So this is one of the things that I'll be checking out once too. Why do the TV stations be closed? And they're saying because of the broadcasting that which we done during the day because of the kids. Where they don't want to say if the violence is between the police and the people who are protesting, why should they close the TV because they are streaming it, and yet people went out for a peaceful demonstration. What are we showing the coming up generation? Also, please let us consider that and let us check it out as that, because that one's also other parts of points whereby we supposed to be careful and supposed to have a clean attendant on it. Because if we don't do something that is reasonable there, we don't control everything in a good manner, we will find up now making out the mistakes that they are around, like right now seeing that blaming one another, forcing one another to accept something that even he or she he didn't do that. So I would like we check out also what that has even we're having a good conversation. Okay, as we leave there, let us go to the political front, whereby we're checking out. Let us begin with the opposition leader by Gachagua starts Western Kenya, and decided to call even people from Western Kenya cousins. Let us check out this from Gachagua, and we'll know that cousins mmefikiwa, watu wa Kakamega wamefikiwa, And now, hey, this is what happened today in Western region. Gachagua stormed inside Western region and decided to call what Western region. Makuzo, this is what happened.
Now, leaders from the opposition have taken their charm offensive to the western part of the country, where they bashed ODM chief Raila Odinga for abandoning the region. Led by former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, the leaders also accused the government of failing to deliver on the promises made to the Mulembe nation, citing incomplete road projects sprawled across the region. Laura Otieno reports on the rising political campaigns that seek to dethrone President William Ruto in the next cycle of elections.
The opposition caravan today began their tour of the region in Vihiga and Kakamega counties,
Cousins high,
where they continued with the push to unseat President William Ruto in the next general elections. Accompanied by a host of leaders, former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua threw barbs at ODM chief Raila Odinga, who has over the years enjoyed the support of the Mulembe nation, accusing him of ostracizing the region in his alleged power brokering deals.
Nyinyi mnampatia kura, anatoa fujo, anaitwa, anaingia serikali, anawacha nyinyi kwa mataa. Sasa mimi nimefukuza Ruto pale kwa mlima. Nimefunga mlima, kifunguo iko hapa kwa gari.
Mimi na Rigiji tulikuwa namba 2, sio? Na sisi tukishikana si wataenda nyumbani. Ni kweli ama si kweli? Kwa hivyo mukae ngumu, tuko pamoja.
Citing incomplete roads, rising unemployment and the high cost of living, the leaders sought to woo the vote-rich Western Bloc in propelling them to the presidency.
Sisi tumekosana na William Ruto kwa sababu ile mkataba ambaye tuliandikishana naye kama watu wa mkoa wa Magharibi amekataa.
Mumejua ile kazi tumefanya mbeleni hapo ya kusafisha elimu Kenya hii na mambo mengine mengi. Hii kazi tunataka tupewe. Hawa kazi imewashinda, itawashinda.
Alleged abductions by the state also took center stage, with the government facing backlash for failing to listen to the young people.
Wakati wanatuongelesha, wanatukosoa kama serikali, wasikize. Lakini Kasongo akasema hawa nitawajua. Watanijua wao wenyewe.
Lazima tuangalie watu ambao wanakuja kutufanyia kazi. Tumeelewana? Hatutaki viongozi ambao wakati serikali inasema kwamba watu wapigwe marisasi wananyamaza, hawaongei.
The team will be in Bungoma and Busia counties on Friday.
Hi, cousins.
Laura Otieno, Citizen TV.
What Kakamega high cousins who have been cousins included too. What Kakamega now? What Western? But we just Kakamega, but tumekuwa Vihiga County. That is Vihiga County today, and they are going to be cousins. I don't know how, but that is it. What it is, it is what it is. I want to thank you for Joshua joining. The number of people who are joining still low. Please share up. So you're having this great conversation and having the great discussion tonight, because tonight, hey, mambo imechemuka bila kifuniko, and many things are happening. Kwanza hiyo story ya watu kuandamana, maskari wa Homa Bay waliona kwamba leo ni kivumbi, kumefika mpaka hata tear gas haifanyi kazi. Okay, wanasemanga ukiona maji imezidi unga, tafuta maji ingine na atafuta unga zaidi, ama tafuta vile unajiokoa. So today, the scar from Homa Bay, they faced that. Okay, switching all the story of Rigathi, telling that President promised people from Mulembe Nation about something, and then he didn't fulfill the promise that he gave the Mulembe Nation people. This trying to make sure that people from Mulembe agrees with him, and try to say that they were not fulfilled with what President promised them to give out to them. So we don't know what is the President promised to give people from Mulembe Nation, and they have not given them yet, which makes them to say that which makes them to say that he didn't fulfill the promise. That's what Rigathi is trying to bring out, so that people of Mulembe Nation can join him and stand against President Ruto. and his regime, saying that he is standing on the opposition and is standing it firmly. As Ruto tries to stand up firmly, as Gachagua tries to stand up, fights back. Also, we see Kindiki standing up there to fight for the government, saying that we are going for 2 terms. So this one saying for 1 term, this one saying for 2 terms. Let us check out this.
Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki has dismissed the opposition's push for a one-term narrative, terming them a group of opportunists who failed to deliver to Kenyans when they were in office. The DP was in Taita Taveta alongside the Kenya Kwanza and ODM leaders for a grassroots empowerment drive. Stephen Leto reports.
1 term, no term, and 2 term politics dominated the pro-government campaigns in Taita Taveta. William Ruto. As DP Kithure Kindiki and National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula led a women empowerment drive targeting 400 women groups in 2 constituencies of Taveta and Mwatate. DP Kindiki tore into the now united opposition figures, accusing them of holding a zero track record in development, accusing the Rigathi Gachagua-led faction of incitement and divisions.
Alikuja hapa aongei mambo ya barabara, aongei mambo ya maji, aongei mambo ya stima. Kazi yake ni kabila hii na kabila ile, na watu wetu na wasio watu wetu. Hao viongozi tunawakemea.
Nyinyi mnasema mnataka uongozi. Agenda yenu, sera yenu ni nini? Ruto must go. Agenda yenu, sera yenu ni nini? 1 term. Agenda yenu, sera yenu ni nini? Kasongo.
Mining Cabinet Secretary Ali Hassan Joho was in the company of the Deputy President, said the coastal belt was intact to guarantee the broad-based government a 2nd term, despite a vicious push by the opposition to have President Ruto squeezed to only 1 term in office.
We must first of all make sure that President William Ruto ameenda 10 bila break. Tumeelewana? Tumesema 10 bila break. Umeona mwingine mkabila anafika anasema hai, mulisikia nyai ati hai cousin. Ukifika Ukambani nyai cousin. Ukija Mwatate unasema oh, nyinyi mashemeji zangu. Sisi tumekuja kwa sababu tunataka wamama waweze kufaulu. Wamama hoye, ashuke. Tunasema mkabila aende asiende.
Sasa imebainika iko timu ya maendeleo, timu ya umoja wa taifa, na iko timu ingine ya kelele na mambo ya bure na ukabila na kusumbua wananchi.
Leaders who accompanied Kindiki used the state to warn the opposition against incitement to protest and destruction of properties.
Kwa sababu kura tulipiga, sasa hakuna siasa. Kweli si kweli? Siasa itakuja tena baada ya miaka 2. Hapa katikati rais tunaye hatuna.
The empowerment entourage continues to pitch tent in the coastal region tomorrow with meetings in Malindi and Kilifi North constituencies. Stephen Leto, Citizen TV.
That's what happened today. Also, one of the headlines on the headlines are today. 1 term, no term. 1 term, no term. Tell me your opinions too. For those who are still watching us, please put in the comment section so that you can hear 1 term and no term. Or the 1 term, 2 term. So nani wa 1 term, nani wa 2 term, nani wa no term even is allowed. So these are the 3 conversations that we'll be having. we are having as Kenyans. 1 term. They saying that kuna 1 term, 2 term, na no term, 0 term. So tunataka tujue nani atakuwa 1 term, no term, and 0 term. So we now, because this thing has diverted everything until Kenyans are not saying anything else, until we are just on that politics of like 1 term, 2 term, and not checking out how we can make our nations go. Okay, it has been quite a while since I bring you data analysis point for our money, and tonight I'll also bring you the eat for that we can know where about our nations going to, and on a big so busy on a business front, what is happening on the business front. So I want to welcome you free, let feel free as we're joining up for this so that we can have the great conversation together. So please share the video and invite somebody to be part and parcel of this. And also, if you feel like you can also support the video, please do so using the details scrolling all the screen, and it'd be good. So let us watch out this. I'll see you in more details as this.
week, that is the National Assembly, which was able to pass an Amendment Bill 2025. This is Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2025, and in that bill, they are proposing 3 funds. The first one is the National Government Constituency Fund. You realize it misses the D because currently what you know is of NGCDF. They're also instituting the Senate Oversight Fund. This is a new fund that the senators will be using to oversight various functions. National Government Affirmative Action Fund, also what has been currently implemented under the women representatives. And now that's what I'm describing, the Senate Oversight Fund. They are hoping that it will be used to empower and resource the Senate to oversight the counties. The other fund is the NGAAF that I just mentioned, currently being under the women representatives. It is meant to enhance measures of the national government on affirmative action, and currently again under the women representatives in the constituencies or in the counties, usually used on different functions, including bursaries for learners that are needy. Now, the NGCF, this is the National Government Constituency Fund, will be constituency based for national government functions, and the allocation from the national will be coming from the national government allocation or share of revenue. Currently, the NGCDF law provides for 2.5% of that kitty, that is the share of revenue of the national government, and Parliament is meant, after the passage of this constitutional amendment bill, Parliament will come back to enact a legislation to enact this particular provision in the Constitution, should it be okayed by the Senate. Now, at the moment, for the financial year 2025-2026, the NGCDF kitty has been allocated 58.8 billion shillings, which is money that will be used on the constituencies between this month and June 2026. For the National Government Affirmative Action Fund, it has been allocated 4 billion shillings in the budget of 2025-2026. Now, there is a process that has been taken. You may recall that in December 2022, as soon as President William Ruto took over power back in September, he wrote to the National Assembly and the Senate, both speakers of the two houses, telling them that he thinks there are certain issues that need to be addressed. One of them was to implement the 2/3 gender rule. He was proposing that there should be a law brought on board to implement this. So far, we have not seen any much progress on that request. Then he also wrote and said that there are funds that should be enacted in the Constitution: the National Government Constituency Development Fund, the Senate Oversight Fund, and the National Government Affirmative Action Fund. Now you can see that since December 2022, Parliament, in this case the National Assembly, has come to heed that request from the President. The other request from the President was the creation of a position of the Leader of Official Opposition. This is still pending, but you recall there was the National Dialogue Committee report, the RADCO report that spoke about such a position. Then there was supposed to be parliamentary oversight of the executive. This has been happening because you will reckon that so far the members of the cabinet secretaries have been appearing before the two houses, addressing plenary sittings to respond to questions of the members of Parliament, whether it's the Senate or the National Assembly. Now, there's a process that must be followed in amending the Constitution. You recall there are 2 clauses, or 2 procedures that can be used, either a parliamentary initiative or a popular initiative. Now, the National Assembly has chosen the parliamentary initiative, which is provided for in Article 255 and 256, and particularly for such a bill to go through, the National Assembly must pass it in the 2nd and 3rd reading stages. In both, they have to get at least 2/3 majority, which would be 233 members of Parliament. In this particular case, the 2nd reading stage had 304 MPs voting in support. In the 3rd reading stage, there were 298 MPs voting in support. But after that, the bill has to be taken to the Senate. The Senate, once it receives that bill and tables it, they cannot debate or even go to the 2nd reading stage until 90 days have elapsed. This is about 3 months. then after that, 2/3 of the Senate must approve this particular bill for it to be considered a constitutional amendment bill that has gone through. 2/3 would get you to 46 senators. Of course, we know that there is a vacancy after the passing of the senator of Baringo. Now, continuing with the process, if Senate approves that particular amendment bill, the speakers of both houses will submit the bill to the president for assent and publication. And should that happen, then they must also issue a certificate of passage of the bill saying that it has been passed in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution, particularly in Articles 255 to 256 of the Constitution. Beyond that, the president, once receives the bill, in this case, the Constitutional Amendment Bill, to entrench the three funds that I just mentioned, the president must consider if that bill touches on provisions of Article 255, sub-Article 1 of the Constitution, that would then mean a referendum would be needed. That's a decision that has to be taken at that point. And if a referendum is needed, then you have to involve the IBC. But if the referendum is not needed, then the president would just have to assent to the bill and publish it, becoming part of the Constitution of Kenya. That's how the process looks like. But there's something to reflect on. This is Article 89 of the Constitution. There shall be 290 constituencies for the purposes of the election of the members of the National Assembly, provided for in Article 97, sub-Article 1A. So this is important because it then recognizes, and the High Court also agrees, that constituencies are not units of service delivery. They are instead units of election, particularly for the election of Member of Parliament. Let's take a look at what else has happened, because the High Court has already expressed itself. And in September 2024, they said that by creating a fund that is administered by the constituency, which is a unit of political representation for legislative and oversight roles, however far removed, the member of the National Assembly may be in the management and administration of the fund and runs afoul the doctrine of separation of power. So the High Court has already expressed themselves on coming up with a fund that is managed at the constituency level, because again, the Constitution talks about devolution of power. So there are two structures of governance: the national government and the devolved units, which is the county government. For you to introduce another layer of financing or service provision at the constituency, then it runs afoul the Constitution. And obviously, we'll be waiting to see what happens. Will the Senate agree with the members of the National Assembly, or will someone go to court to stop that constitutional amendment? And can a constitutional amendment be unconstitutional? Yes, we know that can be because of the BBI process. But in this particular case, we wait to see what the Senate and the courts will have to say about that. We are taking a short break, but that's data point for this week. When we come back, we have more news on the business front. Here's what's coming up.
That's what happened on that point. Na penye pesa zenyu zinaenda na penye pesa zenyu zinatoka, basi ni huko na hivyo kuna kunanga hivyo. I want to thank you all for those assisting joining up as we have been taking high level to hear from it and to hear from the other parties too. This is what's happening in our nation, because our nation a lot is cooking. Wakenya mlisema masaa ni machache, mambo ni mengi. Okay, mambo ni mengi, masaa ndio machache. Kawaida muna na kupumzika ni kuenda. Ukilala kidogo nakuta wamekuacha. So it's you to stay up so that you can keep with the strength of Kenyans and you can continue moving on with Kenyans. Ukilala tu kidogo hivi unaamuka kama wamekuacha. Usilale hata dakika moja, because Kenyans are on run and they're very fast on that, and their run is so fast. I don't know how can we explain it. The run is so fast and don't know how can we explain it. Even it's turning up. So I would like we join up with this also too, because this is also one of the things that is being is raising up also, and checking out more details. And also I want to hear from you the story of Sabasaba. What do you feel about Sabasaba? Sabasaba is will be on Monday, and I would like to hear from you. What's your expectation on Monday, which will be on Sabasaba? Do you feel like everything chaos will get the justice? Do you feel that everything will turn back to the point Do you feel that Kenyans will be on the perfect path to bring justice? Do you feel that we'll get many more lost souls on board? I want to hear from you what you take all about Sabasaba also, which is very, very soon. I want to hear from you too, so that we can be together on the same page and on the same line, as even we are checking out all of this, because everything, mambo ni mengi masandio machache, but I want to hear from you also, so that we can be moving on swiftly and we can be moving on in alignment to it and to everything is aligning to itself. I'll be liking to listen to you as even is moving on softly and we're moving on towards it. Let's get the gang point, and then we'll continue from picking it from.
And welcome back to Newsgang. The hashtag is Newsgang at Citizen TV Kenya, and 22422. That is the last time we will address Sam as Gen Z, because, the evisceration that has happened around this bench has been epic. But let's talk about the police, because in the wake and in the aftermath of what we saw last week, there's been some great support for the police. And maybe, taking a look at, the state of police affairs and police reforms in the country. But first, I'd like us to listen to President William Ruto 37, just speaking about, the support that the government will provide enforcers of the law.
Government of Kenya and myself as president, I will make sure that in the discharge of your duties, every security officer is equally secured by the people of Kenya.
Indeed, but we've been here before. Now, what exactly is ailing the police service, and why do we see this sort of conduct during a protest, and indeed during several other interactions between the police and the people? Let's not mention Albert Ojwang. Let's not even speak of Boniface Kariuki. But it would seem like the touch point between the police and the people, there's still aspects of it that have not quite been resolved yet. And there have been several attempts at introducing police reforms and taking a look at the conditions under which they serve, be it pay, be it housing, be it the equipment, the training that they're provided. And we've tried this quite a few times. We've spent billions of shillings. And perhaps the very latest one was the task force that was led by former Chief Justice David Maraga on the same. And there were over 589 recommendations per my recollection from this report. Some of them required legislation, some of them not. They were just things that could be done. Jamil, I'll come to you in a moment. I'd like us to listen to the president receiving that interim report from former Chief Justice David Maraga.
2 entry points, one at the constable level and another one at the cadet level, so that we attract more professionals into the service and ensure that more people with requisite professional expertise can join the police.
What were those recommendations, Jam?
There were several, actually, and it's important to remember that the report that was submitted to the president identified critical legal, institutional, policy, and welfare challenges facing the National Police Service, the Kenya Prison Service, and the National Youth Service. So I'll just quickly go through them. Some of the key recommendations include institutional restructuring and governance. It recommended merging the Kenya Police and Administration Police under a unified framework. Another recommendation is decentralization of command, which recommended shifting authority from the Nairobi-based command to provincial and station levels. It wanted the command to be granted operational and financial autonomy to local commanders, enhance transparency and accountability. There's a recommendation on oversight and accountability also. It included reinforcing IPOA to investigate misconduct with subpoena powers and witness protection. There was something about ethics, corruption, and conduct, where they were recommending the introduction of a binding code of ethics which prohibited conflict of interest activities, for example, owning a public transport business as a policeman, tightening controls over roadblocks, promotions, and procurement to limit corruption. There's an important one about welfare and service conditions, and it recommended a 40% salary increase for junior officers over 3 years, and also recommended harmonizing pay across services and provide insurance and decent housing. There was something about training and suitability review. There was a recommendation about operational capacity and crime investigations. They wanted renaming and restructure of the DCI for autonomy to include forensic science departments. There was something about reforming police culture. There was a recommendation about implementation of structures and oversight and resource and legislative strategy. But Yvonne, it's important to note that in April this year, the High Court ruled that the presidential formation of the task force was unconstitutional, stating that the National Police Service Commission legally holds those mandates. The ruling said that even the constitution of that body, so anything that was recommended was unconstitutional. But the Interior Ministry said that, and I quote this from the PS, that 255 of the 271 recommendations remained active, with 50% already underway. But there were obstacles, which included funding delays and bureaucratic hurdles. But when you listen to those recommendations, Yvonne, they actually make sense. Welfare, having training and suitability, looking at ethics, corruption and conduct, oversight and accountability, decentralizing of command, really beautiful terms, really beautiful recommendations that kama mwana imepigwa break kidogo, but I don't know, Bonyo,
I think it is important that you mentioned that the courts put a break to some of these recommendations, but at least some of them had already been implemented. And the reforms in the police sector, I think every subsequent administration has made an attempt at it. So one question that we might want to ask is, every administration comes in and they have this solution to reforming the police sector. But as soon as they leave office, or even in the course of their practice, the bad habits and manners within the police service still exists. So you want to ask, where is the problem? Three things from me. One, I'd say that it all boils down to the curriculum. In teaching, and some would know this, there's something we call hidden curriculum, where we might have a very good syllabus, but the people instructing it are not as good as the syllabus. That the people training you have some mannerism or way in which they train you that still reeks of the old order. That you are trained, and in the training, you are subjected to insults, you are subjected to very rudimentary practices and all that. Even if you had the best curriculum in the world, once you're done with it, then what your takeout is the manner in which you are being trained, not what you are being trained in. So for me, that would be the first instances where police reforms really needs to look at. Because why do you train? Basic HR manuals will tell you that you train for current and future manpower needs. What we see today, as we release our police officers to service, it's still on the current, not on the future. And if there is an element of the future, then they're not executing it as trained. And that brings you back to the hidden curriculum. The other one is the subculture in the police sector. Growing up, some of us were being told that the easiest avenue to make money was to become a police officer. And there was this running joke, because in my hometown, there was a police station across, and you'd be told that a police officer...
It was banned today?
Pardon? No.
Is that the one?
Just asking.
Yes.
No, that's okay.
Yes, that you could easily task that whoever remains at home puts in water on fire, you run to the road, and you come back with unga and a kilo of meat, and silently telling you if you wanted the money, you can easily get it. So it tells you there are certain subcultures within the police service that have not been erased, have not been done. So you come into the service because they're fantastic police officers that really want to serve the nation and protect life and property. But you come in a sea where everybody else tells you, hizo zote unataka kufanya ni ya kitabu, hapa ukifika, hivi ndio tunafanya. Then that subculture really needs to be looked at. The last thing is about behavior. And behavior is something largely you acquire by monitoring. So you go for protests, and then you come back and unauliza ulitwanga wangapi rungu na hakuna because you are that diligent officer serving. Then it becomes like a badge of honor that if you do certain things, then it's treated with a lot of respect within the service. Then you drop all that which is good that you intended to do, and you pick this one because probably that is what will earn you ranks. So for me, police reforms in this country must go back to the basics. It doesn't matter how well you pay the police officers. It doesn't matter what caliber on infrastructure you put for them. But if you don't train them to serve with that dignity, with that integrity and everything, and to use modern methods to deal with this generation that is, they say, the only thing they fear is death itself. Nothing else. So in your training, you must, are these people that I'd want to treat or engage with a protest management template of 1998, when most of them had not been born. So there are certain things that we really must look at before we look at the big picture of all these reforms. Let's go back to the basics and ask the curriculum, the culture, and the behavior.
And you know, the best way to judge the outcome of whether any of these reforms works continues to be in the touch point, finally, with the citizens.
Yes.
We still don't see changes there. We still see a culture of fear, you know, on the part of the citizens when encountering a police officer. If you've had the favor and the opportunity to travel, you will find that in various countries, when you're lost and when you're scared, you will ask the police, and they will provide some sort of help or direction. I wonder if we can say the same for here, and what that interaction and how it ends up, and you know what the ultimate outcome of that is, and we can take a look at the extremes of you know what we've seen on the streets and in the police cells, but I think it's in everyday life, and everything you're saying, Jay, are things that we have heard in not one, not two, not three attempts to do this, and then we hear the one thing that Jamila has said consistently: funding and bureaucracy. So therefore, are these you know administrations serious about it, or is it all cosmetic? Because all these billions of shillings, why would we not fund this if this is something that every administration comes on and says, yes, we're going to institute police reforms, and then it doesn't happen, and then the subsequent one then does that, allocates and commits billions of shillings to pretty much the same thing, just sort of said in different languages, then you know, what are we doing? And throwing money perhaps isn't the problem, isn't the solution.
You will recall that as soon as the President William Ruto came to the office, he said that the police will be independent financially, forwarded the budget to the National Police Service with their own accounting officer. And I think there was some controversy there because there was a PAS, Principal Administrative Secretary, who was appointed for the National Police Service, and it was raising an issue. Can you have a presidential appointee managing affairs of the National Police Service? But there was that willingness or attempt to really allow the police to be independent. But then again, I think if you are to reflect on the two issues that Yvonne and Jay are saying, you then must ask yourself, how do you end up with a policeman? So this is a young man or a young woman who has just come from school. They have scored the minimum of D+ for recruitment. They appear at the recruitment centers. of course, after making an application, you appear, you're selected. If you're lucky, you're taken to the institution where you're supposed to be learning whatever skills you need to be taught about. But if you're to look at the statement or the report of the Maraga task force, which never mind, later on the High Court found it to be unconstitutional because of how it was constituted, but it gave us a report that you can really use to understand what goes on in there. So you find that the Maraga report was finding that there were challenges when it came to recruitment of officers, because they were finding that there's a lot of influence peddling when it comes to recruitment, that you find there are even questions of bribes up to the extent of some 600,000 shillings for you to be recruited into the police service. So you can imagine if you have to raise such an amount, you get into the service, how then do you recover that spend? So then you're talking about the question of the training, because the Maraga task force was finding that the training facilities are inadequate. So there are no adequate physical and operational infrastructural facilities at training colleges, at the police stations levels, and obviously listening and speaking to people that have been at the police training colleges, they will tell you that one of the big challenges they have is that you have a big class of, say, 800 plus recruits. They have to be taught in one hall. How do you deliver content to a class of 800? How do you pay attention? And never mind, what is it, Linus? Never mind how the recruitment has been done. So the recruitment is wrong in the first place because money has traveled a distance. There are those questions that are being raised about politicians being involved. So there are certain number of positions that are allocated to the politicians. So you come in and you say, I came here through my uncle who knows someone who knows someone who knows a politician. Then you are taken to a class of 800. You're supposed to pay attention. There are challenges with the facilities, the infrastructure there. If you're being taught on how to aim and shoot, then you're sharing a firearm as so many people. When you speak to trainers and people that have come out of those colleges, they'll tell you they don't have much of experience in handling firearms. Even when you find some of these police officers are deployed in the field, how do they handle firearms? You've heard of officers who have sometimes shot at each other, or perhaps by accident shot at themselves. So it tells you something about it. Now, the other question that Maraga Task Force was able to find out is about the corruption in the service. They're talking about rampant corruption, cronyism, nepotism, favoritism, tribalism, and of course, like what I said about the slots being sold, they highlighted one of the key departments, the traffic department, as one that was facing a lot of challenges, saying again that the task force, which held sittings in all the 47 counties and listened to the people, they were saying that the toll stations are actually just stations for looting and also collecting bribes. Now, when you reflect on all those things, then you come to the question of they were talking about how do you recruit leadership in the police service? Sometimes it's not competitive. How do you recruit an inspector general, for instance? An inspector general is an appointee of the president. It's not the result of a competitive process. What happens is that the president picks someone, taken to the National Assembly for vetting and approval, and then an appointment is made. What if it were to be a competitive? And I think it was competitive early until an amendment was passed a few years ago. Then the other question is on that particular question of how do you recruit. Maraga Task Force was recommending that the minimum grade for recruitment should actually be made to be a C-, not a D+. Only that for areas that you need affirmative action, you can maintain it at D+. The areas that you might consider to be marginalized. But obviously, we've not heard of this happening. The other recommendation that the Maraga Task Force made was that there should be an independent vetting of senior police officers from the rank of senior superintendent of police. Vet them, check suitability, check how they have generated their wealth. Are they suitable to serve in the service? This has not happened. If it were to happen, I don't know what the outcome would be.
But you remember, you remind me of vetting exercises in the past, where it just became almost a circus, and people were being asked about their M-Pesa balances and that sort of thing. We tend to be so academic in this country. I mean, everything all of you are reading out in terms of the recommendations and this is what to do, all sound really good on paper. It's nice and shiny, and it's written in ink. And what is where's the gap between all of these great things that we say and we spend millions, if not billions of shillings on, to everything? Why are we so good at, figuring out the problem, articulating it, but then now finding the solution is where we completely
where we draw the line.
Yeah.
The name of the problem you're looking for is called political goodwill. And I want to say it's not possible to reform the police as an island. The police are part of our society. So you cannot make them more better than its society is. And when I speak of political goodwill, I do that because for the many efforts that have been made to reform the police, the one roadblock that has always existed is that of lack of political goodwill to do it. In 2008, after the post-election violence, we had foreigners coming here to set us back to our statehood because we were nearly collapsing after the violent post-election violence. And a very respected judge, Justice Waki, was in charge of the Commission of Inquiry into the Post-Election Violence, CPEV, and he was actually the first one to come with a raft of reforms. When you look at what Waki recommended, and then what later retired Chief Justice Maraga recommended, they are very similar. Yeah. They are very similar. The only two achievements that can be pointed out that have been at least accomplished. One is the establishment of the Independent Oversight Commission, IPOA. IPOA is a product of the Waki Commission report. And also, a raft of reforms, nice language going into the National Police Service Act of 2011. So those are the two products that really went there, and then it stops. Why does it stop? Because of the political culture of this country. Is the police service really independent? Is it free? Is the Inspector General of Police free to make the decisions that he is supposed to make? Not long ago, we saw the Inspector General of Police popping out of a car roof, was it? To also speak in a political rally. Yeah. I want to submit that he spoke there as a hostage, not as a free man. A hostage of circumstances, that you are facing a lot of political pressure. That now you are in your village, you had better stand up and demonstrate that we gave you the job. That is the political problem that we are talking about. There are a lot of fine people in the police service who actually understand policing, who understand the place of rule of law and order, but who face very, very serious political obstacles. Look at, for example, management of public order. How free are the police to exercise their duties, their mandate? When goons are brought in and they are politically connected, how do you as a police officer deal with that? You'll be told, relax, work with those ones. We remember the protests of 2024 last year. It's a fact, whether from our reporters or ourselves directly. You'll hear from a diligent police officer who tells you another group has come in with motorbikes. Yeah. And they are politically connected. This is a team deployed by the political side. These are the things that can't make reforms possible. So the police service is not an island. You cannot reform it without reforming our political culture first. I want to talk about political bias as well, which is a huge problem when it comes to how police are deployed to politics. Last week, you remember, was it last week, that retired Chief Justice Maraga took part in a protest. How did we react? We withdrew his police officers.
With reforms.
Yeah.
Yes. We're going for training, no?
So we use policemen as political tools. Yeah. They're not even officers. You move them depending on your political feelings of the time. I mean, even media experiences that. There was a time in the previous administration because of the story you are running,
Yeah.
or the administration policemen at the gate will disappear.
Yeah.
This is childish. It's really the attitude that can't allow the police to be free. So before we demand reforms of the police, let's reform the culture around the environment around which they operate. They can't be the saints in the middle of hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good place to leave it. I think it sums up what Joseph was saying, the culture, the behavioral, but perhaps that should be on this other end.
Sure.
Before we even start saying change the culture and the behavior of the police themselves. So take a good hard look at where we are. So we leave it there for now. Jamila, do you want to
take us there?
Yes. Do the thing that
I can't remember the last time nilianza. Leo nimeamua mimi ndo
but first you have to finish.
Finish.
Hiyo ndio kazi tunakulipa
Sawa,
hapa.
tumemaliza, tunataka kufanya final word and today I'm starting. Jaribu kukata.
Those are good reforms. Good reforms indeed.
This is the sort of culture and behavior we speak that needs to change.
Yeah, even by student handing over to yourself. I don't know how.
Abuse of power.
There we go. All right. Ready.
On Wednesday, June 25th, 2025, Kenyans poured into the streets, marching not in rebellion, but in remembrance. It was a protest to honor those who died on the same day 1 year ago, while demanding a fairer, freer country. 60 people died during the June 2024 protests. This year, more were killed on the very day set aside to remember the fallen. The total number of Kenyans who have now lost their lives during both these demonstrations stands at almost 80. Once again, the day ended not in peace, but in pain. Today we remember them by their names, because they are not mere statistics. By their names and not rioters. By their names and not strangers. By their names as sons, daughters, students, brothers, neighbors, Kenyans. The Kenya National Commission on Human Rights has confirmed the deaths of about 20 individuals during the protest. Again, this brings the total number of lives lost in protests over the past year to more than 80. I will now read their names aloud, not to stir anger, but to honor their memory and remind us all of the cost of ignoring the cries of a generation. These are the names of the protesters who died on June 25th, 2025. Samuel Kisesi from Machakos County, Matu. Dennis Njuguna Ngugi from Molo. William Musimi Mutevi from Matu. Ian Mwindi from Juja in Kiambu County. Brian Dungu from Ol Kalau in Nyandarua. Fred Wamale Wanyonyi, a guard at Stima Plaza in Nairobi. Garrison Mutisia from Emali in Makueni. Peter Makau, also from Emali. Ian Opango from Rongai. Kenneth Oma from Karatina. Joseph Ndonga from Nyeri Town. David Mwangi Karanja from Villa Imara in Nairobi. Teddy Dan Owino from Juja in Kiambu. Kevin Njau from Kikuyu. Sami Gitau from Mwihoko. Moses Mwangi Kabura from Nairobi. Abdul Juma Okelo from Pipeline, Nairobi. And there are those whose names we do not yet know, whose families may still be searching, still waiting for answers. We honor them too. We have an identified person from Eldoret and another one from Nyeri in Karatina. We also have someone from Nyeri town who has not been identified. And then there's Boniface Karaoke, shot by a police officer as he sold face masks in the streets of Nairobi. He wasn't protesting. He was working, trying to earn a living. The incident captured on video shocked the country. After 2 surgeries and days in the ICU, Boniface was declared brain dead. He died soon after. Boniface wasn't part of the demonstration, but he's part of the story. These names now live in our national memory. They were not collateral damage. They were not in the wrong place at the wrong time. They were in their country, asking to be heard. We owe them more than a moment of silence. We owe them the courage to ask hard questions and the will to demand answers. To their families, we grieve with you. To the nation, may we never forget that democracy should not come with a death toll. To those in power, may justice speak louder than politics, and may truth rise louder than fear. We say their names so they are not erased. May this country learn to honor the living before we mourn the dead. Because a country that silences its young is a country silencing its future. And that's my memo.
On my kicker tonight, events of the last few days, and indeed the last 1 year, must cause us Kenyans to ask hard questions and seek the answers, however difficult. Without a doubt, a situation of civil strife prevails in our country today. Oftentimes, we come just one word short of it: civil war. If government itself called the protest of last week an attempted coup, what should the regular man on the street dodging bullets call it? What about the 19 or so families that are today burying their dead just out of last week's protests? Fellow Kenyans, we need a way out. But we must first acknowledge we have a problem. Indeed, we have several problems. We have a serious national problem of injustice, as illustrated by the amount of innocent blood shed in this country. Albert Ojwang and Boniface Kariuki are the latest cases of innocent blood spilled. And so could the blood of the majority of more than 50 people killed in last year's Gen Z's demonstrations. How about the abductions, some that ended in death, injustice? So we have a serious problem of official injustice in Kenya. Then comes our second greatest problem, that of a serious trust deficit in government and public institutions. We may not admit it, fellow Kenyans, but the erosion of public trust witnessed within the last 1 year alone must be found alarming. From grievances around the cost of living to the ever-rising rate of youth unemployment, there are strong feelings, especially among young Kenyans, that those who govern are out of touch with those they govern. And when angry protesters raid and burn a police station, it is not enough to call it a terrorist attack or even a coup attempt. We must instead ask the hard questions. Why are we sinking so low? And when did the rain start beating us? Now, let's turn to my 2 cents of what we can do. In developed democracies, governments respond to loss of public trust by calling fresh elections. They seek a fresh mandate from the voters. In other words, they call their critics bluff. Is this something we can do? Ideally, yes, but mentally we are not there. We are not mature yet for such sophisticated moves. And then practically, we don't even have a properly constituted body to conduct pending constituency by-elections, let alone a snap general election. So, fellow Kenyans, an early election in Kenya is currently an impractical proposition. So how do we deal with the rage bubbling beneath the surface, especially among the youth that are now saying things like they are not asking or they can't wait for elections all the way in 2027? How do we navigate the next 2 years? I see only one way out. It is time to talk. We need an all-inclusive national dialogue process that can take a multiplicity of shapes that include the failed attempts to truth and justice, as well as reconciliation. A dialogue process that listens to the Gen Z without calling them children or terrorists. A dialogue process that places country over tribe and institutions over individuals. A dialogue process that will redefine the rules and boundaries for politics and governance and impart in both a sense of values, maturity, and accountability. Out there, we can be loud and confident as Kenyans, but deep down, we are a broken, sick, sinful, and divided country, clinging onto the last throes of nationhood. On leadership, for example, since 2013, we have been riding through the most irresponsible age in the history of Kenya's independence politics. This is the age of politics of anyone and anything goes, and governance of does it even count or matter? When looking for the trigger to last year's sudden explosion of the Gen Z, the national dialogue that I propose should carry out a thorough assessment of our conduct of public affairs since 2013, in direct relation to our duty to country and posterity that includes leaving younger generations like the Gen Z and the Gen Alphas. So, what do we call it? A commission of inquiry? Another Truth and Reconciliation Commission? Whatever we name it, let it be a meaningful, selfless, national conversation about the future of Kenya. I sign off by copying this CC President William Samoei Ruto, State House, Nairobi. That is my kicker.
You know what? Let's stop pretending. Let's stop pretending that the Constitution matters, that the law applies to everyone, that institutions still function. Let's just admit it. We're not a nation governed by the rule of law. We're governed by vibes and the whims of those in power, because that's the only way to explain it. I mean, you have a Deputy Inspector General of Police, a man entrusted with enforcing the law, who ignores not one, but several court sermons. No consequences. He just doesn't show up. And why should he? I mean, apparently, court orders are optional now. It's like choosing between tea or coffee. Nice if you can afford it, totally fine if you can skip it. And then there are senior members of the executive, some of whom are even scholars of law, making public pronouncements that exist in some alternate legal universe, where facts are flexible and accountability is for the weak. These are the same people who remind us often to respect the rule of law. Of course, that only applies only to you, not to them. Meanwhile, in the streets, police continue to meet protest with bullets, not restraint, not dialogue, not procedure. Bullets. Because apparently it's easier to kill a citizen than to arrest them, present them in court, and let due process take its course. Who has time for that anyway? And the real kicker? When someone's loved one is abducted or disappears, they, the grieving, the scared, the desperate, are told to follow due process. They're told to file reports, habeas corpus applications in court, and they're even told to be patient. Wait. Wait for what? Justice? That seems to be on annual leave in this country. Now, in an even more impressive display of state gymnastics, we have lawmakers proposing amendments to the law to make protests even harder to hold. Because, of course, it's the protesters who are the problem, not the police who shoot at them, not the state that ignores their demands. No, the real threat in this country is the citizen exercising a constitutional right. So let's shift the burden, shall we? Let's not hold to account the security agencies to whom taxpayers pay billions to keep us safe, even during protests. No, let's put that responsibility on the protesters instead. Blame the people for being shot at, criminalize anger, regulate outrage. This in the same country where authorities regularly claim the power to ban protests, even though the law gives them no such authority. None. Protesters are only required to inform the police, not to seek their permission. But who cares about the law, really? So maybe it's time we stop pretending. Maybe we just declare it officially. The rule of law has been suspended until further notice. You know, like in The Purge? I don't know if you've watched that lovely little dystopian film where for 12 hours, all laws are suspended and people are free to do whatever they want. No arrests, no accountability, no consequences. Sounds familiar? Perhaps we could even adopt it as a national policy. Every year, let's pick a few days where everyone is free to settle scores. You wronged me, I shoot you. You stole from the public, loot back. Don't worry about the courts or the Constitution. We've already shown we don't take them seriously anyway. Because what is the Constitution really, if not a beautifully bound book we like to quote, but never follow? A document we only reference when it suits us. Just throw it all away. Every principle, every safeguard, every institution, each man and his armed convoy for himself. Either that, or we could get serious, and we could stop playing these dangerous games with our institutions. We could hold everyone to account, from the junior constable to the senior-most political official. We could demand that if justice applies to one, it applies to all, equally, without exception. But you see, that would take courage. And right now, I'm not sure the people in charge of this country have any left. That's my take.
Now, this week, the National Assembly approved the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2025 to establish three funds: the National Government Constituency Fund, NGCF, the Senate Oversight Fund, and the National Government Affirmative Action Fund. Indeed, the Constitution allows for amendments so long as the bill follows the laid-down procedure, and this time it did. An impressive 304 members of the National Assembly turned up for the second reading. 298 stayed to pass the bill at the third reading, meeting the two-thirds constitutional threshold at both stages. You've got to admire the unity and focus. Parliament stuck to its mission. They even conducted public participation, which we are told had a 98% approval rating. But wait, was Parliament doing this for the people or for itself? To answer that, let's unpack what NGCDF has become. The Constituency Development Fund has been around for 22 years. It began in 2004 at just 1.2 billion shillings, 6 million shillings per constituency. In 2025, it now commands over 58 billion shillings, with each constituency receiving at least 160 million shillings every year. No doubt it has transformed many parts of the country. But here's the uncomfortable truth. NGCDF has also become a platform for MPs to posture in their constituencies. Despite reforms meant to reduce their grip, they remain the de facto directors of the fund. How many times have you seen an MP preside over a bursary distribution event? Yet bursaries are wired directly to schools. A check goes to school X, with a list of sponsored students. No need for a crowd or a camera. But the MPs need the ceremony, the optics. You see, 40% of NGCDF funds can go to education, officially classified as development expenditure, even though it's a recurring cost. And MPs use that visibility to build political capital. So why fight so hard for this fund? It's not just about helping the people. It's about winning them over. It's about votes, about photo sessions, with smiling MPs holding up dummy checks for the cameras, photo ops, political branding. Ask yourself, should the Ministry of Education hold events to hand over capitation to public schools? Should the Social Health Authority hold glamorous ceremonies to reimburse hospitals? Back to Parliament, notice the stark contrast. 300 MPs showed up to push this amendment through. But where were they when the National Treasury CS presented the national budget, which also included 58 billion shillings for NGCDF? Selective attendance speaks volumes. Now, on top of NGCDF, MPs have proposed the Senate Oversight Fund. Some senators are already threatening to reject it. But let's pause and ask, why create a fund outside Parliament's current budget? In the 2025-2026 financial year, Parliament has been allocated over 47 billion shillings, which include money for the Senate. So why peg the Senate Oversight Fund on the national government share of revenue? What happens if the executive delays the money? Does that mean the Senate cannot do its job? Let's not forget the Constitution gives Parliament 3 roles: representation, legislation, and oversight. Executive, that's not one of them. Courts have ruled consistently that MPs should not be involved in executing government programs. Constituencies are not service delivery units. They are electoral units for choosing MPs and the president. And yet, Parliament often operates like a private club, more concerned with self-preservation than public service, inward-looking, when it should be outward-facing for the people. Passing a constitutional amendment just to legitimize handouts is not progress. Charity is noble, but distributing taxpayers' money isn't charity. MPs must focus on what truly matters to the people, not just what secures their re-election. And that's my sense tonight.
Tonight, I pick a bone with the latest attempts to gag the media and silence journalists in Kenya. Yet again, and thankful to the courts, have stepped in to block the assault. But make no mistake, these attacks are not random. They are deliberate, a strategy by the state and its operatives to control the message. As we all know, perception is the most expensive currency in the world. He who frames the story first controls how it ends. And every serious power player knows this. Control the media and you control the narrative. Control the narrative and you control society, its attention, its enemies, and perhaps even the elections. Over the last decade, Kenya's media has operated on a knife's edge. Successive regimes have tried in some form to clip its wings, not for national interest, not to uphold ethics, but out of political convenience. The latest and most brazen assault is from the Communications Authority of Kenya. The regulator accused the media houses of funding protests simply for airing them live. A claim both flawed and dangerous, but supported in Parliament by the ICT Cabinet Secretary William Kabogo. Let's set the record straight. Without the live coverage, Boniface Kariuki, the hawker who was shot point blank by rogue police officers, might have quietly been reported as a suicide or a roadside accident. Without those TV images, the goons parading as counter-protesters might have done far much worse damage in silence and in darkness. But then here's the question. Why the sudden outrage over media coverage when the Constitution guarantees every Kenyan the right to information? This is once again a knee-jerk attempt at censorship disguised as public concern. More worrying is that by February 2023, there were at least 22 laws in active use to silence media and journalists in the country. That is not regulation. That is intimidation. And every time these laws have been put to test, the courts have upheld the rights of journalists because legacy media or traditional media still upholds the basics: balance, objectivity, clarity, and credibility. Allow me to get slightly academic here. The media is not a luxury in democracy. It is the engine room. It creates that which we call the public sphere, a space where ideas clash, views are tested, and democracy breathes. It is the bridge between the government and the governed. It is where politicians speak and where the people respond. That's not chaos. That is accountability. Let me close this. Any attempt on media freedoms, from overt censorship, prosecution via the law, and violence against journalists is democratic backsliding. Finally, one for the road. One of the most important rights in a democracy is a free press. This means that the people who report the news should be allowed to do their jobs without the government telling them what to do. That is my bone tonight.
The place. So tonight I'll be hosting your show tonight, and I'm host Mike Shivizo, and I'll also be joining with other panelists and other people who will be having the discussion tonight together on this platform tonight. So if it's the first time coming across the platform, please consider subscribing, sharing, and also give it a thumbs up if you like it. And also there's a poll question. Please participate in it by voting and giving your opinions too. Also in the comment section, you're free to add your comment too, so that we can also get you. So what I want to ask you is, please let us up the game, let us consider it, and let us move on swiftly together and having the conversation together. What I want to ask you, welcome somebody, don't just watch alone and leave alone without getting an implication or adding up for the nation or being too patriotic. So I'll not tire with much, but tonight we'll checking out what's the headline. I'm sorry with my vocal. We'll be checking out the topping story over the night. We'll be checking out the standing story out, and we'll be checking out what has happened throughout the day. One of the things that has happened out through the day is the story of one Albert Ojwang, who was being taken today home, and this journey to Albert Ojwang's home started as today. And also, as we are checking about Albert Ojwang's journey to home, we also be checking out today's president speaking out about taking people that who are condemning other things. Also, President today standing up to condemn other things. Also, DP Kindiki this is standing out and taking giving out, cashing out money today. He had some millions up, which he went and giving it out. Also, still seeing other families that are seeking for justice. And the families that are seeking for justice, we have seen for other family, like for the one Gen Z who was killed during the protest. Also, other families are still raising up, declaring that the family they want justice. Ruto attending after debate 2025 forum in London. Also, be checking the updates on that. Another one is about the one and only person seeking to be the leader of the police that is being asked to come back to the office and continue moving on with the office. And also, apart from that, I'll be checking about the rights groups Murkomen overshot to kill orders. Murkomen has given short to kill orders, and then the people standing up to condemn is those that also the many groups standing up to condemn also the same thing, which is something that we'll be also checking what's it. Did Murkomen did good or did he do bad? Also, those are the things that we'll be having the conversation over tonight. Also, the other side, we are still moving on with the panelists for the Gen Zs. And I know to moving on softly on the other side of the studio, we're having the Gen Z panelists that is going on X. So please also, we can visit also that other side so that we also get it and also continue listening to it. As even we are moving on swiftly. I'll be giving you more updates as even we are continuing, as we are moving on. And for those who are still watching us and also who still standing us for right to make sure that we are moving on swiftly. I welcome you all. Feel free and feel part and parcel of this. Yesterday, we are sorry for the hiccup. Yesterday, we didn't have the electricity. We were on a blackout, and the electricity came today also late. But I thank for those who are patient. So please, before we even begin to roll, let us do so that we cannot get ourselves into the same mistake that we did yesterday, so that we didn't have the show yesterday. Let us do support the channel so that we don't get in such a like yesterday incident. We support the channel through the till number, which is 516575, or the Venus number. Let us support. Let us come up together so that we can buy up something for the backup, so that we don't get in such a like calamities. So I want you to tell me, what do you feel that you can buy for the backup? And also get the money so that we can buy it, even if it is a generator, or we decide between a solar panel that can sustain the studio for the whole night when even the electricity is not there, so that we can move on swiftly without the hiccups. So I want to welcome you. Feel free and feel part and parcel of this. This is Open Political Forum show that gives you the opportunity to share your views and give your opinions too. But tonight we'll begin up on a higher note, whereby we begin with the memorials which we are holding today of one and only Albert Ojwang, which will be opening up from us to even mourn with the family together. Let us mourn with the family together. Like
from the government following his brutal murder while in police custody. During an emotional memorial service at Ridgeway's Baptist Church, family members, the clergy, and leaders called for accountability from law enforcement agencies over a surge in killings, abductions, kidnappings, and forced disappearances of young Kenyans. Seth Olale with the highlights from the service.
Out at the Ridgeway's Baptist Church as the body of the late Albert Omondi Ojwang was ushered in for his memorial service. His family, led by his grieving father Meshach, mother Yukabeth, widow Nevinina, and their young son, was surrounded by friends, clergy, and human rights defenders who gathered to honor a life cut short too soon. Through tears and broken voices, the family vowed not to rest until they find justice. They are demanding answers from the government. What led to Albert's arrest, and why was he brutally murdered while in police custody?
Watabaki na utajiri na sifa za aina yote, lakini hawatakuwa na amani katika maisha yao.
Albert, usilale Albert.
His last words were, "I love you, see you soon." So seeing him soon here, even in the mortuary, it really broke me.
The government, through the National Police Service, stands accused of silencing dissent among the youth through orchestrated killings, abductions, and enforced disappearances.
How about Albert's mother? How about Albert's father? And several others who could not and cannot have the opportunity of getting to the highest office in the land. This is the result.
Regulate Mamba Mandaman. That's something we want to assure the Kenyans that we as the members of parliament, we are not going to accept it to see the day.
It is well. Ojwang's family thanked Kenyans of goodwill for their unwavering support during this deeply difficult time.
Kenyans generally, who gave them in the form of 1 shilling, 10 shillings, 100 shillings, 1,000 shillings.
The late Albert Ojwang, remembered as loving, kind, generous, and outspoken man, will be laid to rest on Friday, 5th July, at his father's homestead in Kakot Village, Homa Bay County. The late Albert Miles Omondi Ojwang, who was picked from his father's homestead and made to travel for hundreds of kilometers to Nairobi, now returns back to his father's homestead in a coffin. his family wants Kenyans of goodwill to remember him through the virtues he stood for, including good governance, fight against corruption, and justice. Seth Olale, Citizen TV, Kiambu County.
This is what has happened in Kiambu County today during the memorial service of one Albert Ojwang. As we were checking also the story of Albert Ojwang, this is so sad because Albert left home well and sound promising that I'm coming back. But when he went, he didn't manage to come back. That is so sad and that's so abruptly. Now also, as we are checking out the story of Albert Ojwang with the family, we still check about the different parts or different people mourning also about that. And let us stand up with the family and let us continue moving, pushing on and on until Ojwang is buried, and keep on the vibrating that's going on and on. So I want to welcome you all. Feel free and feel being part and parcel of this as you know having the discussion. Okay, tonight the link to join up with the studio is on the comment section. Somebody's asking the link. Okay, the link is there in the comment section. Thank you for joining, and thank you for those who are still joining up. The numbers who are watching is still low. Please let us up the game. Also, team Facebook squeeze tumesinzia sana. Team YouTube tuko chini sana. Team SoundCloud Talk tuko chini. SoundCloud Talk live we are still low. We haven't reached even 50. We haven't reached our 50 and above. We need to reach at least 300 people watching. So make sure we invite at least 10 people. Share at least to at least 10 groups so that we can have the conversation together as even we are moving on swiftly and having this discussion tonight. Okay. The story of Ojwang opens the forum tonight because a lot has happened because of that story of Ojwang. And one of the headline hitters that we'll be speaking all today is the story of one and only Murkomen. Murkomen is hitting the last time we spoke about also Murkomen, where people give their different opinions, saying that Murkomen is not disturbed he's supposed to be removed from the office because he didn't do something that was good. And also still see people still raising up the argument and still raising up the concern that Murkomen should leave the office. Murkomen should leave the office. So what is your opinion about that? Do you feel like the campaign should be continued or Murkomen takai? Because wanasema Murkomen hatoke office. Let us watch out this.
Institute have filed a petition at the Milimani High Court seeking to have Interior CS Kipchumba Murkomen declared unfit to hold public office over his remarks on the use of lethal force during anti-government demonstrations. The organizations want Murkomen to publicly retract his shoot-to-kill order, accusing him of constitutional violation and encouraging police impunity. They warned that his statements made in the aftermath of June 25th Gen Z-led demonstrations could fuel a rise in extrajudicial killings in the country. Stephen Leto begins our coverage tonight with the following report.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen has been dragged to court by civil society groups, Katiba Institute, the Kenya Human Rights Commission, and the Independent Medical Legal Unit, accusing the CS of overstepping his mandate by issuing policy statements that they claim incite unlawful violence, misrepresent the law, and undermine the Constitution. The three organizations now want the High Court to call the CS to order. According to court papers, Murkomen's shoot-on-sight directive is likely to trigger a surge in extrajudicial executions and widespread violence, resulting in loss of lives and serious human rights abuses. The lobby groups further urged the court to declare that Murkomen violated his constitutional duties by inciting police officers, telling them that the guns in their custody are not toys, and directing them to shoot anyone approaching a police station or allegedly endangering an officer's life. The human rights groups say the Interior CS has contravened Clause 1 of Article 75C and has demeaned the office of the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Interior and National Administration.
Tumeambia polisi Mtu yoyote mwenye atakaribia police station, piga yeye risasi.
Murkomen has been facing backlash over the directive, which he made a day after Gen Z protests led to mayhem and destruction across the country. The CS has since sought to clarify his remarks, insisting it was not a shoot-to-kill order and that police officers fully understand the legal limits on the use of force.
I think it's important for citizens to appreciate that our police officers are very professional and they know the circumstances under which, when they are in danger, they're trying to protect themselves or protecting lives, they have to use force to the extent that is necessary. But that does not mean that we are telling our police officers to become reckless. These are law-abiding citizens.
The three lobby groups now want a public clarification and have asked the court to issue an order compelling Murkomen to issue a written retraction published in a newspaper of national circulation at his own expense, fully withdrawing his comments and clearly outlining the legal limits of the use of force and firearms by police. The human rights groups also want a similar retraction aired on a television station with nationwide coverage at Murkomen's personal expense, fully withdrawing his comments and clarifying the legal circumstances under which police may use lethal force. The Interior CS is further required to convene a press briefing to issue the same clarifications publicly. Stephen Leto, Citizen TV.
Oh, that's how things are on. Happened with the story of Murkomen. Anajaribu Murkomen is trying to withdraw the words, thinking that the words can be reversible. Na amesahau kwamba maji yakimwagika hayazoleki. Please, I ask you, please let us join up the show. And for those asking the link is on the comment section. Please, David, click it. The one that follows your comment before and after your comment. Just click it, and then it will configure your camera and your video too. And then we'll get inside the studio so that you can be part and parcel of this beautiful conversation of building up the next society. Okay, Murkomen is trying to defend himself, trying to say that I didn't mean so. He meant something different from what the TV media broadcasted, and yet they broadcasted the direct words from Murkomen. So I wonder, what does it? What do Murkomen want? Okay, or what was he meaning by saying that if anyone comes to the police station, she should. And then we know that the police station nasemanga ni utumishi kwa wote, because tunatoka kwa ile form ulikuwa nasema kwamba ya police nini, making sure that the police is changing. So if we are changing up the police, and then now you begin telling them that now if somebody comes closer to police station, we'll be shoot. Meaning, why do we want to take our reports? Why we would want to report? When do you want us to go and report? Meaning that the things are changing. Sasa ya tuko kwa kupeana report kwa police station, ni wewe ujue shida zako unasuluhisha aje. Ni hivyo Murkomen na mamuo. I trying to withdraw statement saying that it didn't mean so. You know, our police are well educated. They know where to defend themselves. They know where to use firearms. No. I bring up a lot of story. Yet they can't cancel what he said. Now, people are standing firm to say that Murkomen should leave the office. What do you feel? Do you feel Murkomen should leave the office immediately? I would say Rice is still being silent on it. Yesterday, today I've been watching earlier another podcast whereby one man said that if you know or you feel, watch another podcast, and then one man said if you feel that you are incompetent, or you're feeling that this office, that I'm not feeling that I'm fitting to this office, or I'm seeing that I'm doing a lot of mess in this office, the only simple way you just resign off, get out of the office, and tell people like, okay, and I'm seeing like I can't handle this office. I thought I will, but I feel like I can't handle the office, so I'm leaving it a little bit, so later another person steps in. But in the Kenya, it's different. I'm feeling like I'm making the office to crumble, I'm making the facility to go down, but I'm still sticking to the office, just wanting to make sure that everything should believe it's working, and yet you are making someday all of it collapse. So I don't know if the leaders or the problem with the seats, or what's the problem with it. I'm seeing Bernard has joined us or inside the studio from the diaspora, but we can't see Bernard well. We're just seeing only nose. I don't know why. How are you, Bernard?
Yes, good. Is it good day to everyone? It's a new day in Nairobi, Kenya.
Yes, it's a new day.
Glad to see all of you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share with us in this conversation. Murkomen and his madness has caught up with him. He has to pay for the same. He cannot come to tell us the policemen are a professional, they know what to do. If that is the case, why was he talking to them? Why was he directing them on what to do when they are professional and they know what to do? That's question number one. Question number two, what he's being asked to do is what he needs to own up his mistake, apologize to Kenyans, retract his statement, not for him to clarify his statement. No, clarification for the statement, that's clear, it's an order given. So Murkomen should stop playing with our minds and own up this mistake. And he should be out of that office. That office is for people with the, whatever, great understanding of human life, great understanding of public wisdom, and people that are sensitive. They can maneuver within different whatever interests, balance with a balance, not recklessly. So Murkomen is too reckless for that office, and he seems to be incompetent. He's reacting instead of initiating a proper procedure of the working of the law enforcement officers. Secondly, there is no law that requires that a policeman should shoot to kill. That is not part of our Kenyan constitution. And so anybody directing that is violating the law. The police are meant to shoot so that they can enforce arrest, where the arrest is being resisted and the person is running away, then they can shoot the leg of the person, the foot of the person, to catch him so that he's delivered before the judge. Any aspect of shoot to kill is neither here or there. And Murkomen being a lawyer, he needs to understand that better than any other Kenyan. And so he should not come to explain to us what he meant, what he said. He said what he said, he meant what he said, and let him face up to the consequences thereof. That is all I can say. And so he needs to appear before the court, defend himself, and is found culpable, vacate office. There are better Kenyans that can do that job.
Okay, thank you, Bernard. I hope we are still moving on. So I want to welcome also other people who are still joining up. I see some people having difficulty, but for those who can join up using the link, please let us do so, and so that we can have this conversation together, and even we are moving on swiftly to discuss what is moving on, because Murkomen is saying that nyinyi mnamsingizia ya kusema hivyo, ya alisema vingine. Trying to skip it up, and the problem is hakuna kitu mbaya unataka kudanganya watu na kinyo ulisema kinaonekana. Today I've been watching all the discussion that has been going on this evening, where one judge say that hakuna kitu mbaya kujifanya kwamba unataka kufanya watu kuonekana wajinga, na ila hali wewe unajua kwamba umekosea na utaki kukubali kwamba umekosea. Unataka kutudanganya kwamba uko sawa na ilhali umekosea. Na akasisitiza kwamba kama umekosea, kubali umekosea na urekebishe. Na kino wa Kenya, viongozi wa Kenya hawataki kukubali wamekosea na wataki kurekebisha, wanataka kulazimisha wa Kenya mkubali makosa yao, ama mkubali kile wamewasindikizia kwamba ni hikyo, na nyinyi mkubali tu mfuate, msiulize maswali, mnyamaze. Bena nikuulize, hata kama wewe ni kiongozi, sifai kukuuliza maswali kama naona tunaenda kwa shimo? Get me?
Yes, I'm here. I was sending the link to Unduman.
Okay. I was asking. I've seen that there's this culprit in Kenya whereby you find even a leader, when you ask a leader a question, he don't respond to the questions. He tries to give he just try to play around and give different opinions and try to just avoiding the questions. And is it allowed that even if you are my leader and I'm seeing we are going inside a ditch and then telling you like, hey, my brother, we are falling down inside a ditch. Am I not allowed to tell you that we are falling inside a ditch? Just be silent, watch as we even withdraw.
We say in the church world that if God wants to lift you, He will put a good man near you, and when the devil wants to finish you, He will put the wrong man around you. So whether it's the devil or God, they uses people. And our village proverb say, "Let him that sets the trap wrongly set." In other words, not everybody can rescue somebody when they are headed in the wrong direction, especially with the level of sycophancy that we have in our politics and in our leaders. At times, it is even the leaders who don't want to be told the truth. They don't want to be shown that they are wrong. So they need sycophants around them to massage their ego and tell them that they are okay, everything is all right. But at the end of the day, they are headed in the wrong direction and the consequences will be the same, because the wrong road will never take you to the right destination, no matter how long you travel on that particular road. And so it is right when a leader makes a mistake to own up the mistake and correct it. We saw this over and over with Uhuru Kenyatta. Whenever the public will come forcefully and demand, Uhuru will listen and change the tag where necessary, and of course try and find a middle, ground for the harmony to continue being there. And so the stubbornness to resist what is necessary to be changed is a huge letdown, and I think is the greatest unmaking of the Ruto administration. The more they don't listen, the more they don't heed to the demands of the people, the worse their government becomes, and the worse it becomes for them in their perpetuating to be in power. And so Murkomen is doing nothing new. We know this, and he will avoid owning up his mistake, because the premise upon which he was ordering the police to shoot anybody who comes to the police station was that there was a coup that the police had aborted that had been arranged to take place on the 25th. That was the premise. And they wanted to play in the gallery in the name that they are so angry, that they are so bitter, that they are so worked up because somebody can imagine and work out a program to overthrow the government. And so the police has done a good job. They have not, violated the law in any way. So all the people killed were killed in order. Those school children who were shot in the head were shot in order, according to Murkomen. That is what he said, and that's the background upon which he spoke. And so he should not come out and begin now to change. He should tell us, has he now established there was no coup? Has he now established that the coup he said was a lie, was a pretentious, pretentious ground to legalize what is illegal in the country, or encouraging the police to do the wrong thing. And so Murkomen, being a constitutional lawyer, it's embarrassing to have that come from him. And now he still wanted to make it worse by now recanting. Instead of recanting what he said, he's now looking for a better interpretation for the justification of the same. There is no justification of the same. Murkomen should own up his msalaba na kutolewa kwa hiyo ofisi hiyo ndio inafaa. Kama yeye ndio anaendelea kuwa minister wa interior, sisi tunakuja sabasaba, okay? Na hakuna lugha atatumia ambaye itamuokoa kwa haya, kwa sababu sheria ni ile ile. Chochote utakachokisema tutakitumia kinyume na wewe katika kwa mujibu wa sheria katika koti. So he has already spoken. He cannot take back his words until he owns up and repents, and therefore he's cooked. That's all I can say for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernard, for that contribution. I see On the Money is in the building. On the Money, Shikamo.
Habari ya studio.
Tupo salama, labda kwako?
Kwangu tuko salama, tunaendelea mzuri.
Nashukuru Mungu. Tuende nayo. Ndivyo vijana wasema.
Asante. Sasa Murkomen amelewa na power imemlewesha. Hata anaona hii serikali kumutoka na natumia saa ya milioni sijui ngapi, kila kitu yake ni ya milioni. Sasa anaona hiyo milioni inaweza poponyoka. Sasa ndiye anaona ya kwamba hao GNC wanaweza kupindua hii serikali, na wakipindua hii serikali, kufaa shati ya milioni itakoma, kufaa shati ya saa ya milioni itakoma, kutembea na viatu ya milioni itakoma. So amelewa na power, anamelewa na power, na hii power iko temporary. Murkomen ajue hii power iko temporary. Hii power ilikuwa na Moi, na alikuwa na nguvu sana hata kuliko hao bwana ni Murkomen. Murkomen ajue kwamba Moi alikuwa total money, alikuwa Biwote alikuwa na sasa hivi Biwote yako wapi? Biwote yako kaburini. Hiyo ni makapi, imekuwa makapi, iko kaburini, hiyo ni makapi. So hii vitu anajipiga nao kifua, hii power anajipiga nao kifua, hiyo ni takataka. Hiyo ni makapi. Biblia inasema hiyo ni makapi ya peperushwa na upepo. Kwa vile Bwana anajua njia ya mwenye haki. Sisi ni wenye haki, Wakenya ni wenye haki. Bali njia ya wasio haki itapotea. Njia yao katika serikali inapotea. Wanajaribu kufanya hii, inapotea. Njia itapotea mpaka mwisho. So yeye aende polepole, uwanja ni mdogo. Haende polepole. Yawa jensi wanapigania haki yao. Hiyo ni haki yao yenye mababa zao walinyang'anya mababa zao. Hiyo ni haki yenye Moi alinyang'anya sisi. Hiyo haki Moi alinyang'anya sisi. Moi hawezi nyang'anya sisi, alafu watoto wa Moi wakuje pia wanyang'anye sisi. Itawezekana? Tutatoa tu hiyo vitu, tutatoa hiyo nyama kwa mdomo yao. Na wakome na kiburi yao hiyo, wanajifanya kwamba wanajificha nyuma ya polisi. Wanajificha nyuma ya polisi. Wanajificha nyuma ya polisi. Polisi wawakie tu nafasi uone vile raia watawararua nani, ndugu yangu. Raia watawararua. Hawa wanajikinga, wanasema piga risasi kwa sababu wako nyuma ya polisi. Wamejificha nyuma ya polisi. Lakini polisi wakiwachia tu nafasi kidogo, ndugu yangu, hawa watu hakuna Murkomen. Murkomen anaongea kwa sababu ako na polisi, inspector general wako hapo, DCIO wako hapo, yakuwa na kiburi anaongea. Lakini aongelee kukubali ya watu hakuna, aongelee kumali security hakuna, aone vile watu watamumeza. So hii uongozi hii iko temporary. Wasijipige kifua, ndugu yangu, anajipiga kifua, wanasema piga risasi. Tuliona wangapi walipigwa risasi, lakini mabadiliko ilibadilika, na ndugu yangu, tulipata mabadiliko. Watu walikufa, lakini tulipata mabadiliko. So hawa GNC vile watapigania haki yao, watapata. Hawatakuamia haki yao kwa muda. Akiua ataua wote, watabaki. Na wale wanabaki tunapata ile mabadiliko, ndugu yangu. So Murkomen awache kujipiga kifua. Alafu ya pili, nimeona ya kwamba huyu inspector general, deputy inspector general, wa koti imemwachilia, amesema hana makosa namna gani? Nani alituma hawa CID mpaka huko Homa Bay kuchukua Ojwang? Nani aliwatuma? So huyo inspector general ndiye aliwatuma, wakaenda kuchukua Ojwang wakamuuia ndani ya cell. Sasa koti inatoa mamlaka namna gani ya kusema hatiana harudi kazini hatiana kesi? So koti ni ya watu matajiri, koti si ya watu maskini. Sisi maskini ana haki, maskini ana haki, tajiri ndiye ana haki. Lakini siku moja itakuja kufika Bernard au ndugu zangu, ya kwamba hii inji tunaenda kubadilisha. Wapende wasipende, tutabadilisha inji, tutabadilisha mustakabali wa hii inji Bernard, tutabadilisha mustakabali wa hii inji, kwa sababu hii koti imekuwa koti ya watu matajiri. Koti si ya watu maskini. Maskini ana haki. Baada ya Ojwang amezikwa, hiyo watakuwa wamesahau namna hiyo. Koti itakuwa imesahau namna hiyo. Hatapata haki. Baba ya Ojwang hatapata haki kwa hii Kenya hii. Hatapata. Mimi nina hakika kama nani anaitwa nani? Robert huko hakupata haki. Huyu mwingine akinangajia Mkarioke hakupata haki. Sasa ndio Robert atapata haki wakati hii. Robert atapata haki. Naomba tu Mungu aweke roho yake mahali pema peponi, na Mungu afanye namna gani, atulize baba ya Ojwang. Lakini Kenya hii mnyonge hana haki. Na unyonge, kama haki yetu ni kwa barabara huko Bernard, ndugu yangu, haki yetu ni kwa barabara. Haki yetu tutapata kotini, haki yetu tutapata kwa bunge, haki yetu tutapata State House, haki yetu tutapata kwa kufanya maandamano. Hapo ndo haki yetu itapatikana. Lakini tukifikiria haki yetu itapatikana kotini, hakuna. Haki yetu itapatikana State House, hakuna. Haki yetu iwezi kupatikana hata kwa bunge huko, hakuna haki hapo. Hiyo sehemu yote hakuna haki. Haki yetu tutapata kwa kwenda kwa barabara kufanya maandamano. Haki yetu tutapata kwa mdomo ya bunduki. Haki yetu tutapata kwa mdomo ya risasi. Hiyo ndio haki yetu tutapata. Lakini tukifikiria haki yetu tutapata kotini, hii hakuna. Koti huko ni visungu mingi huko kotini, alafu hiyo vizungu yote inakwisha Bernard, ndugu yangu. So hata hii watu ya ODM wameingia kwa serikali, wamenyamaza au hata waongei. Mimi niliona Esther Passaris anaita ati anapeleka mjadala gani anapeleka, alafu anakuja anataka kulimit hao watu wa maandamano. Hati maandamano tutafanya sehemu fulani. Hao wamesahau ya kwamba hao ndio walifunza sisi maandamano. ODM ndio ilifunza sisi maandamano ya kukaa kwa barabara. ODM ndio ilifunza sisi maandamano ya kutupa mawe. ODM ndio ilifunza sisi. Hiyo watu walimu wetu wako katika bunge sahi, katika serikali. Walimu wetu wenye walitufunza kutupa mawe, kukaa kwa barabara, kusema msilipe mshwari, wako sahi kwa serikali. Wamesahau ya kwamba hii serikali iko na wafinya, sasa wameingia kule. So tunasema namna hii tena.
Dakika moja tu. Samahani kwa kukatiza, lakini nataka tu nikuulize swali moja uongeze ukituelezea hapo. Sasa kama nikuulize, kama Esther Passaris anakataza kwamba watu usiandamane tukienda bungeni, niulize, na inasemekana kwamba tukiandamana tunapeleka miswada yetu wapi? Tunapeleka bungeni miswada yetu wenyewe. Na anatukataza tusiandamane tukienda bungeni. Hii miswada mnataka tupeleke wapi? Tuandamane tukipeleka wapi?
Sasa unajua wakati tunaandamana, hiyo tunaitanga namna gani? Tunaitanga petition unapeleka kwa bunge, petition unaweza peleka State House, petition unaweza kupeleka kwa ministry yoyote, na iko town kule. So akizuia sisi kwenda town, hiyo ni maandamano aina gani? Ndio nilikuwa nasema, Biblia inasema mwanamke astahili kuongea mbele ya wanaume. Akiwa na swali aulize bwana yake nyumbani. Ulize bwana yake nyumbani. Hapana tu wanawake kuingia kwa bunge huko na kutoa midomo mama, kupiga kelele kwa bunge na hakuna kitu wanafanya. Hakuna hata hii women rep itolewe kabisa, hakuna kitu wanachangia kule kwa bunge. Kama ndio wanawake sample ya kina Passaris watakuwa na hiyo akili, na ndio Biblia ikasema ya kwamba enyi wana wa Israeli na mweke vitanda yenu kuwa safi. Kuweka vitanda yenu kuwa safi ni midomo yenu kuwa safi. Ndio Biblia inasema enyi wanawake wa Israeli, enyi wabindi wa Israeli, mweke vitanda yenu kuwa safi. Vitanda kuwa safi. Vitanda ni midomo. Midomo yao ikuwe safi. Chochote inatoka katika midomo yao ikuwe safi. So akipeleka hiyo mjadala kwa bunge pale, ana limit sisi kuenda kufanya maandamano. Na hao ndio walikuwa walimu wetu. Hao katika ODM ndio walikuwa walimu wetu. Nani alifunza hao watoto kutupa mawe? Ni ODM. Nani alifunza hao watoto kupigana na polisi, kutupia polisi mawe? Ni ODM. Sasa kama mwalimu ameingia kwa serikali, anataka mwanafunzi aseme afanye nini? Mwanafunzi atafanya ile maneno mwalimu alimfunza. Na headmaster hiyo mwanene ya kutupa mawe ni Raila Omolo Odinga. Huyo ndiye headmaster. Headmaster wa kutupa mawe, headmaster ya kukaa kwa barabara, na alifunza hao watoto wetu kufanya hiyo vitu. Sasa wanataka hao watoto wetu kufanya nini? Wawapatie haki yao. Vile wamepatia wa ODM haki yao, wameingia katika serikali, wamegawana madaraka. So hao watoto vijana wenye wako nje pia wapewe haki yao. Na wakikosa kupewa haki yao, hiyo supu watamwaga mchanga. Hiyo supu wanakunywa hiyo supu wakifurahia katika serikali, hao vijana watamwaga mchanga. Na mimi naunga hao vijana mkono 100%. Naunga vijana 100% mkono. Wawapatie vijana haki yao, wawapatie kazi, waliwapatie elimu, wawapatie kila kitu. Lakini kama wezi kufanya hivyo, ati wanatumia DCI kuanza kunyanyasa vijana hati na kuua. Tuliona Moi aliua wangapi, lakini ako kaburini, amelala kaburini. Alikuwa anafikiria kwamba injini ya Kenya ni yao. Injini ya Kenya si ya mtu. Hata katika uongozi watatoka katika uongozi Bernard. Kama watatoka katika uongozi, watatoka kifo itakuwa imewapata kifo. Vile Ojwang anaenda kuzikwa, na ndio vile hao watazikwa. Hawatakwepa jeneza. Hawatakwepa jeneza hata wakiweka mamilioni ya pesa, wakiiba, wakienda kujenga Dubai, wakienda kufanya nini. Yote hiyo tunasemanga hiyo ni makapi, hiyo ni takataka. Hiyo ni takataka. Wakienda kujenga Dubai, wakiibia wa Kenya, wakienda kujenga Dubai, wakienda kuweka pesa huko ng'ambo. Hizo zote Biblia inasema hiyo ni takataka. Hiyo ni makapi ya peperushwa na upepo. Kwa vile Bwana anajua njia mwenye haki. Njia mwenye haki ni wa Kenya. Njia mwenye haki haipatikani State House. Njia mwenye haki haipatikani kwa bunge. Hiyo njia mwenye haki, njia sio haki, hiyo itapotea. Hiyo njia sio haki itapotea. Kwa sababu tunataka hii Kenya itoshe sisi wote, isitoshe wengine, wanatumia bunduki. Sasa hao wabunge, hao viongozi wakubwa wamefanya tumekuwa adui na polisi. Tukiona polisi tunaona kama ni adui. Hata watoto wetu hawezi kucheza na watoto ya polisi. Hata watoto wetu hawezi kusoma na watoto ya polisi. Wanaona watoto ya polisi ni adui. So hao viongozi wamefanya sisi wananchi tumechukia polisi. Tunaona polisi ni kama adui, sio mtumishi wa wote. Kwa maana kama ni mtumishi wa wote, huwezi kusema ya kwamba wakati watu wanaenda police station wapigwe risasi. Ndio risasi inanunuliwa na ushuru wao. Hao wameshindwa kuua jambazi, kuua Al-Shabaab huko, wanasema wanataka kuua sisi raia, wanataka kuua vijana yetu. Na wajue ya kwamba hao pia wanazaa, wako na watoto, hao pia wanakuwa na watoto. Na Biblia inasema chochote unatumia upanga kuua ndugu yako au kuua na ndugu yako, hiyo upanga ndio itatumiwa kwako. Hiyo ndio upanga itatumiwa tu kwako. So hao viongozi wabadilishe nia, wabadilishe roho yao, iwarudie wa Kenya. Kwa maana roho yao imekuwa mbali na wa Kenya. So wabadilishe mioyo yao. Naomba Mungu wabadilishe mioyo yao, iwarudie wa Kenya. Wakati inawarudia wa Kenya, wafanye kitu ile wa Kenya wanataka. Lakini wasipofanya, wanatumia polisi. Hata polisi wamechoka. Polisi wamechoka kupigwa mawe. Polisi wamechoka kwa sababu huwezi kupigana na maraia. Serikali huwezi pigana na raia. Na serikali sijipige kifua ati inaweza kupigana na raia. Raia anaheshimu serikali. Unajua kuheshimu na kupigana iko tofauti. So mwananchi anaogopa sheria, lakini haogopi vita mwananchi. Mwananchi anaogopa sheria. So wasifanye polisi wakakuwa adui ya raia. Hao ndio adui yetu. Polisi si adui yetu. Wale adui yetu ni wale wabunge. Adui yetu ni wale wabunge wanatengeneza sheria huko kwa bunge. Hao ndio adui yetu namba 1. Namba 2, hao ni rais. Na rais ndio adui yetu. Namba ya 2. So hatutakubali kunyanyaswa. Mambo ya kunyanyaswa iliisha. Hii inji wache itutoshe wote. Tusitumie mambo ya bunduki, kunyamasisha wa Kenya. Tusitumie polisi kuzima wa Kenya. So hawa wajasoma lesson, bado wanafanya ufisadi. Wanaona watatumia polisi, watatumia vyombo vya sheria kunyanyasa mwananchi. lakini tunajua ya kwamba hawataweza vita ya mwananchi na serikali. Serikali haishindangi vita. Mwananchi akiamua, serikali haishindangi vita. Mwananchi ndiye anashindanga vita, si serikali. Mwananchi ndiye anaheshimu tu sheria. Sheria ndio tunaheshimu. Lakini si hatuwezi heshimu hiyo serikali. Hatuheshimu serikali, lakini tunaheshimu sheria ile imewekwa. Hiyo sheria imewekwa ndio tunaheshimu. Lakini serikali wafanye namna gani? Waheshimu mwananchi. Serikali, mwananchi ndiye ameweka serikali kwa madaraka. Mwananchi ndiye anatoa ushuru. So serikali iheshimu mwananchi. Serikali iheshimu mwananchi. Mwananchi ndiye anawapatia hiyo pesa, wanafanya ufisadi. Mwananchi ndiye anatoa hiyo pesa ya kununua bunduki. Mwananchi ndiye anatoa hiyo pesa ya kulipa askari. So ukiua hao wananchi, utatoa wapi hiyo pesa? Utakuwa unatawala nani? Utatawala mawe au utatawala watu? Ukisema we ni president ya Republic of Kenya, Republic of Kenya maiti au wale walio hai? So inatakana ukuwe rais ya wale walio hai, si wale waliokufa. Si wale waliokufa. Inatakana mtu akuwe mbunge kwa wale watu walio hai. Hapana wale mbunge kwa wale watu waliokufa. Hapana. Tunataka kulipa ushuru kwa wale watu tuko hai, si wale watu tuliokufa. So serikali inatakana iheshimu maslahi ya mwananchi. Once ikiheshimu maslahi ya mwananchi, tutakaa na amani na polisi. Tutaona hiyo polisi ni kama ndugu zetu, tutaona polisi ni kama dada zetu. Lakini sisi wananchi hatuna shida na polisi. Polisi hatuna shida na polisi. Tuna shida na viongozi. Hao viongozi ndio wamejificha nyuma ya polisi. Lakini wakati polisi watatoka kutu kidogo, Bernard, polisi tu wakitoka kutu kidogo, hao watu tumewanyorosha. So wanakujua tu wanajificha kwa polisi. Lakini polisi wakiwatoka mtu tunawanyorosha, Bernard. So tunataka heshima ipatikane kwa kiongozi na ipatikane kwa mwananchi. Ndio hii nchi itatutosha wote. Lakini wasifikiria kwamba hii nchi itawatosha hao peke yao. Hii itawatosha peke yao, Bernard. Ndio wanasema ya kwamba atunatoa hiyo sheria ya kwamba tukifanya maandamano tukae mbali na koti. Hiyo koti ndio inanyanyasa sisi. Tukae mbali na bunge. Hiyo bunge ndio inanyanyasa sisi. Tukae mbali na State House. Hiyo State House ndio inanyanyasa sisi. So tutakaa wapi mbali napo? Huko ndio tutaenda. Huko ndio tutaenda. Wasiseme tukae mbali na hapo. Huko tu ndio tutaenda. Huko ndio tutaenda. Na 2027 wahesabu kura yetu mzuri. Wasipohesabu kura yetu mzuri, hakuna amani watapata. Amani hakuna. Hakuna amani ile watapata. Wakitaka wapate amani, waweke kila mtu inchi itutoshe wote. Itutoshe wote. Si wengine wasunguke na masubaru, wanasunguka na masubaru kutishatisha watu na masubaru. Kutishatisha watu na masubaru. So ndio tunasema ya kwamba polisi akuje ashike mtu na uniform. Na akuwe na kibali, akuwe na kibali sahihi. Akuwe na kibali ya kwamba natoka police station fulani, uko na uniform yako mzuri, basi alafu tutakupatia yule mtu unahitaji. Tutakupatia hiyo mtu na tutakupatia na mwingine na msindikiza mpaka police station. Na aandikishwe kwa OB na huyo bwana apewe OB ingine. Lakini vitu ya kuzunguka na sisi na Subaru, sisi hatutaki civilian yoyote ako na Subaru akuje ati akamate mtu. Saa hii polisi hawezi kukamata mtu, anakuja tu hata anakamata mtu ofyo ofyo. Akuje na bunduki aina gani? Hata akuje na guruneti aina gani? Saa hii sisi wananchi tuko macho, tuko gangari. Polisi akikuja kukushika akuje na uniform. Asikuje na civilian. Akikuja na civilian, huyo ni muisi, tunaweka moto. Tunachoma. Tunachoma kwa sababu huyo ni muisi. Mwenye anakuja bila uniform, huyo ni muisi. Huyo ni mkora. So tunataka polisi afae uniform, ndio akuja arrest mtu ya kwamba nimetoka police station fulani, nimepewa kibali ya kukamata. Na huyo mtu utapetea polisi, ataenda peke yake mpaka aende na mwingine. Hakikisha amefika police station. Kwa sababu imekuwa ukora hapa katikati. Sasa hivi ile kotini iko anataka jaji anataka mtu fulani huyo alipotea apatikane. Aidha apatikane kama ako mzima au kama amekufa. Polisi walimpeleka wapi? Halafu sasa polisi ndiye akuje kwetu, atakuja na civilian. Hakuna sahi civilian. Ukikuja polisi, ukuje na polisi atakuwa na kibali, lakini ukuwa umevaa uniform. Kama hakuna kibali, hakuna kutoka na mtu yetu. Hakuna kutoka na mtu yetu na tutakupatia. So serikali imeweka sisi wananchi kukua adui ya polisi. Na polisi walikuwa marafiki yetu zamani, Bernard. So saa hii tunaona polisi ni kama adui. Tumeona polisi ni kama adui. Na kumbe wabunge hao ndio adui. Wabunge ndio adui namba moja. Wabunge ndio adui namba moja. Adui ya pili ni kotini. Koti ni adui ya pili. Adui ya tatu ni polisi. Yeah? So sisi wananchi hatuna mali ya kukimbilia. Hatuna mali ya kukimbilia, ni sisi tu. So Murkomen akisema polisi wapige watu risasi kwa polisi huko, hata polisi ataweza piga wewe risasi kwa barabara. Kama unatembea tu kupiga wewe risasi. Sasa tutakuwa namna gani na usalama wetu? Usalama wetu mpaka tutafute vile tunaweza kujikinga usalama wetu. Usalama wetu sasa tutaweka serikali itulinde. Kwa sababu serikali imeshindwa kutulinda sisi. Serikali ndio imekuwa jambazi ya kukamata sisi kwa nyumba na kwenda kunyonga sisi. So mpaka tujiami kwa sababu serikali haiwezi kuchunga sisi. Sisi mpaka tujiami, tuone sisi wenyewe tumejilinda. Kwa sababu hiyo serikali tunapatia ushuru haiwezi kutulinda, maslahi yetu haiwezi kutulinda. Inalinda wakubwa. Serikali inalinda wakubwa. Sisi wadogo hatuna mtu ya kutulinda. So mpaka tukue na rungu yetu kwa nyumba, tukue na silaha yetu ili tutajilinda wenyewe, kwa sababu serikali haina mamlaka ya kutulinda. Sasa sisi hii serikali tunangoja tuisafishe iende nyumbani 2027. Hata 2027 itafika, waende nyumbani. Bernard, asante.
Asante Ndumani. Kabla lete Bernard, nataka tu tufahamishe mtazamaji kile tunaendelea.
Ilikuwa naomba nilainishe kitu. Ndumani, umeingilia kina mama. Kina mama wanateta sana. Sheria mbaya haitokani na kina mama. Sheria mbaya inatokana na watu wasiotumia akili vizuri, wawe wanawake kama wanaume. So hiyo suala la pasaris sioni liko tofauti na vile wabunge wanafikiria na kina Murkomen vile wanafikiria, kwa kujaribu kuharamisha maandamano. Wanaona maandamano ndio adui, sio sababu za maandamano. Badala washughulikie sababu za maandamano, hao wanataka kufanya maandamano yasiwe ya kufana, yasiwe ya kulenga lengo fulani. Kama wabunge ndio wametukosea, sisi tutaenda kuandamana bungeni. Kama ni rais ametukosea, tunaenda State House. Kama ni Murkomen ametukosea, tunaenda kwa ofisi ya Murkomen. So huwezi kusema tutakuwa na maandamano sisi vile walikuwa wanafanya vile nani anasema nani huyo Sakaja ati wa hawkers wale watu wanauza vitu vya rejareja town waende kuuzia Kangundo Road. So angalia kule town iko na kule Kangundo Road iko, na unaambie tukienda kupeleka hawkers Kangundo Road nani atatoka town aende Kangundo Road kununua bidhaa za watu? So kuna vile ambavyo wanataka sasa kufanya maandamano yawe sisi tuende kwa Nyayo Stadium tukae huko tupige kelele, au wakiendelea kufanya vile wanavyotaka. Hiyo sio sheria. So hiyo ni kuhujumu haki, na Esther Pasaris na wote ambao wanafikiria hivyo ni kwa sababu wamepungukiwa na maarifa. Si eti ni kina mama ama ni kina baba, ni kupungukiwa na maarifa na kutojali wananchi.
Bernard, nitaongezea hapo, iko wanawake wengine wakipata madaraka wachana ina wanawake ya nyumbani, hawa wenyewe wana madaraka. Hawa wanawake wenye hawana madaraka wako na heshima sana Bernard, lakini wale wanawake wenye wako na madaraka, hata wanawake na madaraka hata ya kushinda mabwana zao Bernard. Na ndio Biblia inasema enyi wana wa Israeli, si enyi wanawake wa Kenya, wale wako wanaandikwa kasi kubwa kubwa, waweke vitanda yao kuwa safi, waweke vitanda kuwa safi, waweke mdomo yao inyoroke, mdomo yao kuwe safi Bernard. Lakini hii wanawake hawana madaraka, hawana kazi hawa.
Udumani, wewe fanya hivi. Tutafanya show na wewe hii masuala ya kina mama, kwa sababu inaonekana uko na ujumbe kwa kina mama ambao sisi hatujashika. Lakini kwa sasa hivi tunaomba hivi,
niko na ujumbe sana,
kila mtu ahukumiwe kwa makosa yake. Si wanawake wote, si kina mama wote. Yule mama amefanya makosa ashughulikiwe kwa hayo makosa. Tukiwaweka wote grupu moja sasa itakuwa ni shida.
Sasa unaona Bernard, Biblia inasema enyi wanawake wa Israeli, enyi wanawake wa Israeli, mweke vitanda yenu kuwa safi, mweke vitanda kuwa safi. kwa sababu hiyo tabia ilikuwa Israeli, na hii tabia imetoka Israeli imekuja hapa Kenya. So hao wanawake wanaweka na midomo, waweke vitanda yao safi kama pasaris, aweke kitanda yake safi. Isiwe kitanda ile inanuka, isiwe kitanda ile inavunda, iweke kitanda yake kuwa safi.
Sawa, asante Ndumani. Tatizo kazi kwako.
That is on Ndumani, and Ndumani has speak about the police commissioner, and this is what's happening with the police commissioner. Mambo imechemuka, that's how people say, and this is what happened before we roll down, bring other things to the alignment. This is what happened with the police commission.
Colonel of Police Eliud Lagat from accessing his office and performing his duties or using any facility of the National Police Service has been withdrawn. The application, which was linked to the ongoing investigations into the death of blogger Albert Ojwang while in police custody, was withdrawn after the court was informed that the matter had been overtaken by events following Lagat's declaration that he had stepped aside. Lawyer Ndegwa Njiru, representing the petitioner, told the court that they would be seeking leave to amend the petition to reflect the change in circumstances. Justice Kabogo allowed the withdrawal of the application and set the matter for mention on the 10th for directions on the main petition. The crackdown on individuals and politics.
Moving on swiftly. Maaskari wako na mashida sahi. Hakuna news inaisha bila maaskari. Every news comes with the maaskari. Wamefanya, maaskari wamefanya. Maaskari wamefanya, maaskari wamefanya. Maaskari nao wanajitetea, sisi tumetumwa. Orders from above, orders from above. We don't know what can we tell our police so that we can have a peaceful nation and bring everything to alignment. Because if things continues moving to this direction, kidogo, if you have been asked, okay, you are even released, but we are still asking you, who sent you? We don't want to say who sent you. Now you want to cover it up, make other junior police to pay for your sins, and then you just cover the story up and then say that nothing happened. Mimi mniandaka mnisaidie mnieleze kama umeshikwa kwa sababu ya kitu fulani, haujapeana mwelekeo halisi. Swali ambalo aliuliza ya kwanza ni kuwa nani alifanya, nani alikuwa ametumani. Ukasema ni mkubwa wa polisi alikuwa amefanya nini, ametumanisha afanye nini. Na kaulizwa akiwa cell nini ilifanyika, hamtaki kusema. Now you don't want to be accountable, yet you are being released. Na mimi najuanga hata kama ni let me give example na simu ya wizi. Ukiiba simu na mimi nilipatikana nayo nikapewa Benard akapewa Ondomani akapatikana na simu. Ondomani atoe Benard asiponitoa yeye ndo anabeba mzigo. So how comes that you police ameshindwa kwa be accountable na wanamrelease saying that is free, is not accountable? Hebu mnisaidie kuelewa hapo.
Our police service is a hideout of criminology. The kind of evils being committed by the police and covered up are innumerable. And you see the way things are now happening, the courts and everything. They want to defeat justice and hinder the pursuit for the justice by frustrating the case. How do you frustrate the case? By destroying the evidence and ensuring that credible witnesses are not arraigned in court. So that when it goes to hearing and determination, you are left without, the case is weak because you don't have eyewitnesses, and the closest people to the case are now not guilty. And so it is a matter of defeating justice, and it's all because the law is no longer an item to use to stop evil. The law in Kenya is an instrument you use to facilitate evil. Polisi akikushika ukidrive kwa pavement, anakupatianga tu maswala ni mawili, ni kupeleka kotini, itakuwa 10,000. Tufanyeje? Kipiga yeye hiyo ngirimbiri, hiyo story imeisha. So aliyekusaidia na hiyo maswala ya kuhepa kwenda kotini ni nani? Si yule polisi. So ni ili swala tulikuwa tunafikiria liko kwa traffic peke yake, lakini sasa liko kila mahali. Si kwa bangi, si kwa mauaji, si kwa ubakaji. They defeat the case by destroying the evidence. So ili swala la Langat, sahi sasa hana hatia, hakuhusika kwa masuala ya Albert, yeye ni mlalamishi tu. Alipolalamika ni Amini aliyejitolea mhanga, akafuel gari likakwenda mpaka Homa Bay kutafuta Albert kwa sababu wametusi mkubwa wao. At the end of the day, the case is going to be thrown out as not having sufficient grounds to prosecute the liable people. Well, this is all I can say to the police officers and all that are participating into the ills that they are committing in the name of being in power and in the name that they can defeat the cases. Mtakwepa koti ya Kenya, mtakwepa koti ya Madam Hot Air, mtakwepa koti zote nchini, lakini kuna sehemu ambayo mtafikishwa mbele ya hukumu ya Mungu. Hapo hakuna mtu wa kuona kando. Hapo hakuna kutoa evidence kulingana na polisi aliyehusika. Mambo yako yote utajibu. Kwa hivyo saa hii mama ke Albert will go home and be cold and suffer in pain because the big people are untouchables. The big people cannot be prosecuted. The big people are above the law. That is as much as it goes. But one of these fine days, there will be a day called a day of reckoning. Ndio record zitawekwa sawa sawa. Sasa hivi fanyeni vile mnavyotaka. Nimemalizia hapa.
Asante bwana, waje msikize Ndumani.
Mimi nitasema namna hii. Sheria iko ya kwamba kama umeona mtu amekukosea anakuchafulia jina, sheria iko ya kwamba unapeleka yeye kotini, unashtaki yeye. Koti ndio inahukumu yeye. Hapana wewe uweke gari mafuta, uende utume wadogo yako, uende mpaka uchukue mtu huko Homa Bay, ukuje uwie katika police station. Inamaanisha ya kwamba uko above the law. Uko na sheria hiyo yako inaonesa kuua hata mtu. Nani ndugu zangu? So kama alijua huyo Ojwang amemkosea, Ojwang amemchafulia jina, angechukua yeye vile ilikuwa afanye namna gani. Hata huko Homa Bay iko koti, angeshtakia yeye huko Homa Bay huko koti, yujue ya kwamba huyu bwana ako na nini, huyu bwana ako na kesi ya kujibu. Lakini kuchukua mtoto ya wenyewe unachukua unaenda kutoa kwa sababu uko na power. Uko na power. Hii power iko temporary tu. Hata mmoja alikuwa na power, lakini sasa yako wapi? Hako kaburini. Mifupa iko kaburini. Wanarembesa hiyo kaburi tu, wanarembesa na kupaka mafuta na kupaka maua, lakini ndani imeosa, ndani iko uvundo. Ndani huko iko uvundo. Ndani iko takataka uvundo. So hii power iko temporary. Hii power iko temporary. Kesho utakufa ukiwa kwa power, temporary utakufa ukiwa kwa power. That's why unaona watu saa hii mwananchi hana heshima na polisi, hana heshima na kiraoni. Kiraoni saa hii raia hana heshima na kiraoni, hana heshima na hiyo uniform. Hata hiyo uniform wakipiga saluti, hiyo saluti ni mafi. Hiyo saluti watu waheshimu hiyo saluti, waheshimu uniform, waheshimu kiraoni. Wanaona tu mtu akifaa kiraoni ni mkora. Wakiona mtu anafaa kiraoni ni muuaji, ni muuaji. So ile heshima ya kiraoni imeanguka. Ile heshima ya uniform imeanguka. That's why unaona mtu anavamia police station anachoma moto, kwa sababu hiyo heshima hakuna. Hiyo heshima hakuna. Ukiona raia anashambulia police station na anachoma, hiyo heshima ya police station hakuna. Ukiona raia anaingia mpaka kotini anachoma kotini, anajua ya kwamba nikichoma hii koti hakuna haki. Hii koti haifanyi haki. Hii koti haifanyi haki. That's why hii koti inawekwa moto. Hii police station haina haki. That's why mwananchi anafanya namna gani? Anachoma police station. Lakini wakati tutakuwa na haki, tunaheshimu sheria, tutaheshimu police station, tutaheshimu na mahakama. Lakini sasa hawa wakubwa ndio wamekosa kuheshimu mahakama. Hawa wakubwa ndio wamekosa kuheshimu sheria. So sheria gani unaenda kuchukua mtu mnyonge, alafu wewe unakuja unanyonga, unaua mtu. Alafu the same hiyo koti inasema ya kwamba huyu bwana hana hatia. Na hatia alituma wadogo yake. Alituma huko wadogo wake. Wadogo wake waenda wakamilishe hiyo shughuli alituma. Lakini Biblia inasema ya kwamba atakuja na ujira wake mkononi. Katika Ufunuo wa Yohana 22 anasema ya kwamba atakuja na ujira wake mkononi, kumlipa kila mwanadamu kulingana na matendo yake. Mwanadamu hata kama umevaa uniform, mwanadamu hata kama ni president, hata mwanadamu hata kama ni mbunge, atakuja na ujira wake mkononi, kumlipa kila mwanadamu. Kila mwanadamu ni yule anavaa uniform, ni yule mwanadamu avai uniform, ni yule mwanadamu hapo kotini, hapo katika bunge, katika state house, katika traffic. Huyo ni mwanadamu. Na Biblia hii inasema ya kwamba atakuja na ujira wake kumlipa kila mwanadamu kulingana na matendo yake. Na akasema hapo nje kuna wezi, kuna wauaji wako. Hata muuaji anakuwa katika uniform, ni muuaji. Biblia inasema katika Ufunuo wa Yohana ni muuaji. Hata akiwa katika uniform ni muuaji. Akiwa rais ni muuaji. Akiwa ako katika bunge ni muuaji. Akiwa katika traffic kwa barabara ni muuaji. Ndio Ufunuo wa Yohana inasema namna hiyo. Na atakuja na ujira. Na ujira ni mkali sana. Wanafikiria kwamba hii inji wakati wanafurahia mazuri ya hii inji, wakinyonga watu, wakiua watu kwa sababu ya riziki yao. Lakini Biblia inasema ole wao watakuja kulia na kusiaga meno. Watakuja kulia na kusiaga meno. So yeye anatengeneza hiyo. Ndio unaona polisi, watoto wa polisi wamepata na wako na laana kwa sababu baba yao hako na damu ya mwanadamu, hako na damu kwa mikono yake. Hiyo damu kwa mikono yake, hako na damu. Na Biblia hii inasema ya kwamba yeye atakuja na hiyo ujira kumlipa kila mwanadamu kulingana na matendo yake. So hiyo matendo isipolipiwa hapa duniani na koti, matendo hii isipolipiwa hapa duniani na koti, italipiwa mbinguni. So hapa kama wamekosa kupatia Ojwang haki yake, wamekosa kumpatia haki yake, basi haki yake atapata mbinguni. Na yule mwenye alifanya hiyo kitendo atalipwa, ataanza kuchomeka, hata kama atapata shida kabla hajafika mbinguni. Ndio unaona kama mtu hata akiwa na pesa namna gani, wakati anataka kukufa, hana kufa mpaka yani anateseka dakika ya mwisho. Mimi niliona commissioner ule alikuwa former commissioner, police commissioner huko Nyanza. Wale walienda kumchukua Robert huko. Wakaenda kuua. Mtu aliara tu alikuwa anafaishwa Pampers hizi, mtu mzee tu mkubwa anafaishwa Pampers. Hiyo ni laana. Hiyo ni laana ya mauaji, hiyo ni damu ya mauaji iko katika mikono yako. So huyu bwana alikufa vibaya sana kama asante.
Asante Ndumani kwa kututamanishia kwa kishindo sana. Na nataka tupande ngazi za kisiasa kidogo. Tumuone na rais na naibu wake wanatupa usemi ambao unafuata na kuyaweza kuyaongelea masuala mengi ambayo yanakumba nchi yetu. Leo hii rais aliongea kwa London, na pia naibu wake leo naye akakuwa amesema ametumwa na rais kwenda kusomesha miradi. Ngoja tazame hizi video mbili kisha tuweze kujadiliana. Na nawasihi tafadhali tujiunge pamoja, tuweze kujadiliana pamoja, tuweze kuzungumza wote pamoja, maana hii ni nyumbani ya kila mmoja, na hili masuala na sehemu moja yanakuguza, inaweza kosa kuwa yanakufikia moja kwa moja, lakini kuna sehemu ambayo yanakufikia. Kwa hivyo jitokeze, tuzungumze, tuweze kuhakikisha nchi yetu inaenda mbele vizuri. Ngoja tazama hizi video mbili kisha tuendelee na ongea.
President William Ruto says Africa will continue investing in primary sectors such as manufacturing and agriculture to create jobs and guarantee food security, while acknowledging that the future of global economic competitiveness lies in investing in services, technology, and human capacity to innovate. Developing nations cannot fully adopt that, as the primary sectors are still the main drivers of economic contributing 40% of the gross domestic product in sub-Saharan Africa. The head of state made the remarks during a forum dubbed Africa Debate 2025 in London.
Africa's growth path cannot be either or proposition. We cannot choose strictly between investing in services or supporting our primary industries. That would be a counterproductive and false dichotomy. We must do both simultaneously. Our experience suggests that while investing in services sector is necessary, it is not sufficient to address the urgent challenges of poverty reduction and unemployment while achieving meaningful economic growth. Investing in agriculture-led industrialization can enhance domestic food resilience and food security. According to estimates by the Africa Development Bank, FAO, and McKinsey, Africa's agribusiness market could grow from $300 billion in 2010 to $1 trillion in 5 years.
Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki has today came to the defense frequent phrases that have been dubbed as empowerment drives, saying they are part of the promise made by President William Ruto. Speaking in the county of Tana River, Kindiki said the fundraisers were not done in isolation, outlining the construction of modern markets as part of efforts to uplift those in the lower income bracket. Leaders in the company of the Deputy President also called on locals in the coast region to shun divisive politics.
The country must develop equally, and Tana River and other parts of coast, other parts of Kenya, which sometimes have been left behind. We must make sure that we now walk shoulder to shoulder, all the 47 counties, as brothers and sisters accessing equal development.
Wewe Rigathi ulipatiwa deputy president. Cha msingi ulikuwa ukisema nini watu wa Tana River mna share? Nini watu wa Kosi mna share? Kila siku mountain. Kila siku mountain. It is about the Republic of Kenya. It is not about one area.
Uongozi wa William Samoei Ruto ni uongozi wa kutuma viongozi kwa ground. Umeelewa? Sasa mimi nataka niwaambie, nitarudi hapa tena na tena na tena, kwa sababu niko na instructions kali sana za kuboresha mambo ya uvuvi, mambo ya madini, mambo ya blue economy, fishing, shipping and maritime affairs.
Hapa sehemu hii mnapenda ukabila ama mpendi? Yule mkabila ashindwe, yule mkabila apotee, na ukabila yake ndogo ndogo na milima ambayo iko na mashimu.
Former Interior CS Dr.
Ndivyo mambo imezidi kuchemuka. Nasema kwamba uongozi wa Rais William Ruto ni uongozi wa kufanya kazi kwa ground, na hiyo kugawa pesa ama kwenda kwa michango ya rambe ilikuwa sehemu ya yake. Utanisikiza ndomani.
Ndugu yangu, hizo wanasemanga hizo sarakasi za Abunwasi. Sarakasi za Abunwasi. Hiyo maneno ya rais anasema huko Amerika, huko ng'ambo, ni maneno mazuri sana. Lakini kwake anafanya hivyo? Kwake iko vijana wanaandamana wana kazi ya kufanya. So hiyo viwanda anatangaza huko Amerika, angekuja aziweke hapa, afanye zikionekana. Maneno ile anaongea Amerika ni mzuri. Lakini afanye hapa Kenya. Na ndio tunasema ndugu yangu ya kwamba hii maneno anaongea Amerika ni makapi. Hizo ni takataka anaongea huko. Hizo ni takataka kwa sababu hazimsaidii. Hiyo maneno anaongea haimsaidii. So ile maneno unaongea haikusaidii, hiyo tunasema ya nini? Hizo ni makapi. Hizo ni makapi zipeperushwa na upepo. Hizo ni makapi. So atakuja na hizo takataka zake kule kutoka ng'ambo huko, akikuja hapa hizo makapi atakuja nazo hapa Kenya. Akishakuja na hapa Kenya, hizo makapi hazitamsaidia, bali vijana watakuwa bado kwa barabara. Hii maneno empowerment hii, wanaiba pesa ya serikali, ananunua generator, ananunua TC car wash, wananunua mitungi, wananunua hizi mitungi ya maji, drums, wananunua sijui vitu ile ya watu kufanyia biashara vijana. Hiyo vitu unawasaidia vijana hiyo kufanyia nini? Hiyo pesa hiyo wachange hiyo pesa, wafungue Nzoia, wafungue Kikomi, wafungue kule Mombasa. Zile factory zilikwisha Mombasa kule, zifunguliwe. Zikishafunguliwa basi hivi vijana wote waende wafanye huko kazi. Lakini mimi naona Joe huko anapiga tu kelele tu huko Mombasa, anapiga tu kelele tu, hakuna kitu hilo anafanya. Walifanya tu wasted years hiyo wakati ya ODM, na wameingia kwa hii serikali ile yenye hata iwezi kusaidia. Tangu yeye Joe aipewe hiyo minister, amesaidia mtu gani huko kazi, hata kupata kazi? Hakuna kitu amesaidia huko coast. Hata huyu makamu wa rais, yeye anasunguka tu, wanasunguka na pesa ya raia, wanasunguka na pesa ya serikali. Kwa nini ya kuweka hiyo pesa ifanye kazi? Sisi hatutaki watu wanasunguka na randa. Wanafanya kazi saa ngapi? Watu kazi yao ni kuranda juu ya magari, kuranda. Hiyo sauti imekuwa tu rekiji. Hata unaona mwanamke anaamka tu anaanza kutusi mwanamume mwenzake. Mwanaume yule ako na bwana, naye mwenyewe labda ana bwana. Ndio wale wanawake wanatoanga matusi kwa midomo yao. Hata kama ni viongozi wako na wanatoa matusi kwa mdomo yao, wanatusi mwanaume. Ukipiga tu akili mzuri huko nyuma, hana bwana. Lakini mwanamke yule ako na bwana, ako na heshima, hawezi enda kushambulia bwana mwenzake, bwana kwa umati ya watu. Hawezi enda kushambulia. Hii wanawake wenye wanatupanga midomo, wanashambulia wanaume kwa midomo kwa mikutano. Ukiangalia hawa wameoa tu wanaume ya wengine, hawana mabwana. Lakini ule mwanamke ako na bwana, ako na heshima, wakati anaenda kuongea na mwanaume. Hata kama mwanaume anapiga siasa namna gani, unaongea na huyo mwanaume kwa njia ile ya heshima vile bibi yake anaongea naye kwa nyumba, ndio wewe naye uongee naye kwa heshima. Lakini wale wanawake wako katika siasa, hawana mabwana, ndio wanaongea na matusi, wanaongea kila kitu. Na ndio Biblia inasema enyi unanipata?
Unakupata, twende.
Kenya hii viongozi hawana heshima. Hii viongozi mtu achukue, kama wanakuja ati maneno empowerment hapa Busia, wakuja waweke kiwanda hapa Busia. Kiwanda hiyo itasaidia vijana wetu hapa Busia. Vitu anakuja kufanya empowerment. Car wash inasaidia nini? Car wash mtu atikuosha, wao unaweka, atunapatia mtoto mashini ya kuosha gari. Hii ya saloon ya nini? Kwa uweke viwanda hapa Busia, waweke Kakamega, waweke wapi viwanda, vijana waende wafanye kule vibarua. Kama ile kiwanda ilikuwa ya Raila kule Eldoret, wakati mimi nilimaliza form 4 kule, ndio nilienda kufanya kibarua ya kuweka hizo plywood kwa trailer, na at the end of the day ninalipwa. Mimi naenda kwangu nyumbani, nimechoka, mimi nalala. Hata siwezi kwenda kwa maneno ya maandamano, mwili imechoka. Nafikiria kupumzika, kuenda kufanya kazi nyingine kesho. Lakini hawa serikali imeweka vijana wamekuwa idle. Halafu mtu anasema anatoka hapa anaenda ng'ambo kusungumuza maneno ya viwanda namna gani, na viwanda imemshinda hapa Kenya. Wewe unawezaje enda ng'ambo kuongea maneno ya viwanda na wewe mwenyewe una hiyo kiwanda? Ni kama unaambia watu mjenge choo, na wewe mwenyewe atakuwa hauna choo. Wewe unakunia msituni, na wewe una choo, na unaambia watu ya kwamba mchimbe choo. Tunataka kuweka viwanda hapa Kenya. Mweke viwanda na nyinyi wenyewe hamna hiyo viwanda. Hiyo viwanda ndio mnauza usiku na mchana. Hiyo viwanda ndio mnafanya ufisadi, na watu wanakosa kazi. na ndio vijana wanakosa kazi. Na hao vijana watakuwa na nyinyi bamba tu bamba, bamba tu bamba. Muwaue, muwafanyie nini, muwatege nyara, watakuwa nao bamba tu bamba, bamba tu bamba. Kwa sababu wakiua mmoja hawataua wote, wakiua 100 hawataua wote, bado watatoka kama nzige. Biblia inasema watatoka kama nzige. So ni hao kukaa chini na kuona vile wanaweza kusaidia vijana wetu kubuni nafasi ya kazi. Hapana kutembea juu ya magari, kutembea huku na huku na huku na huku. Wakae katika maofisi yao, wapange mipango ya Kenya, wapange mipango vile vijana wanaweza kupata kazi, vile wanaweza kubadilisha nchi, vile wanaweza kubadilisha nchi ya Kenya. Hapana hii nchi ina watu wanalia, kila mtu analia, kila mtu analia. Mzuri. Na hakuna vile kiongozi atakaa mzuri na huyo mdogo akae mbaya. Akae mbaya. Shukuru sana polisi. Polisi ndio inawasaidia. Lakini kama si polisi, wai maisha imewashinda. Watu maisha imekuwa ngumu. Hivi viongozi wajue kwamba maisha imekuboresha nchi. Tusisaidiane kubomoa nchi. Unajua wanasema tunataka amani. Na wenyewe hawana amani. Hao wenyewe wanafanya ufisadi. Hao ni ufisadi tu wanafanya. Ndio wanasema tuweke amani. Tuani kwa mtu mwenye hana kazi. Anasema nchi yetu ipende nchi yetu. Tuipende nchi yetu kwa sababu alafu kila siku nasema tupende nchi yetu, tupende nchi yetu, tusiharibu nchi yetu, tusiharibu nchi yetu. Sasa mwenye unaambia tusiharibu nchi yetu, tusichome nchi yetu, huyu bwana hana kazi. Hana kitu ya kufanya, hana chakula, hana sabuni. Alafu wewe unaoga katika ufisadi, unavaa suti katika ufisadi, alafu unasema ya kwamba tupende nchi yetu. Tutapendaje nchi yetu na hatuko sawa? Hatuko na usawa katika nchi. Tutaipenda namna gani? Hatuwezi kuweka amani na kule minofu. Hatuwezi kuweka amani alafu wewe unatembelea gari kubwa, unafanya ufisadi. Tuweke hiyo amani, yani tuwekenge amani, tufinyikenge amani na wewe unatembelea gari kubwa. Unaenda katika hoteli kubwa, unaenda kufanya chakula, unakula minofu. Alafu wewe unaambia hii nchi tupende amani. Amani inapatikananga kwa watu wale nchi iko na usawa. Amani inapatikana mahali nchi iko na usawa. Lakini si amani iwezi kupatikana kwa nchi yenye hakuna usawa. Hakuna nchi inapatikana amani kama nchi hakuna usawa. Tukuwe na usawa. Tukuwe na usawa katika elimu, tukuwe na usawa katika kazi, nafasi za kazi, tukuwe na usawa. Katika mabarabara tukuwe na usawa. Katika kila kitu tukuwe na usawa. Hapo ndio amani itapatikana. Lakini nyinyi mwezi kuogelea, hawa kubwa mwezi kuogelea kwa ile wimbi ya pesa, wanasunguka na pesa ya Kenya wakitoa tu empowerment. Empowerment ndio kitu gani? Empowerment wewe patia mtu factory. Kama ni Busia hapa weka factory, Bungoma weka factory, huko Kakamega weka factory. Ukishaweka factory hiyo iko sawa, upeleka hao vijana wanafanya kazi pale. Hiyo ndio itakuwa usawa. Hiyo ndio itakuwa empowerment. Lakini hapana empowerment ile yenye unasaidia wachache. Katika hiyo constituency wameenda wamesaidia wachache, si wote. So vitu ya kutuambia maneno ya kusunguka au vice president anasunguka, rais anasunguka, nenda ngambo, akae chini afanyie Wakenya kazi. Haufanyie Wakenya kazi na akuwe na mpangilio, akuwe na mipangilio. Lakini wakikosa mipangilio, hii nchi inaenda mrama. Hii nchi inaenda mrama kwa sababu hatutakaa na wale watu wanatunyanyasa. Walitunyanyasa wakati tulikuwa wadogo, ndio tumekuwa wanasema vijana ni viongozi ya kesho. Viongozi ya kesho. Mimi nilikuwa naambiwa viongozi ya kesho, sasa niko na mwaka 56, 56 years. 56 years bado hata sijakuwa viongozi ya kesho. Bado. Tena hiyo wanakuja kwa watoto wetu wanasema viongozi wa kesho, viongozi wa kesho, na hao wanakula minofu. Viongozi ya kesho. Hivi vitu ya kusema viongozi ya kesho, hiyo vitu hatutaki. Tunataka kuwa kiongozi ya saa hii, ya leo saa hii. Hapana ya kesho. So serikali wabadilishe nia, wabadilishe katika bunge, wabadilishe style katika bunge. Huo state house wabadilishe nia. Katika judiciary wabadilishe kuhudumia mwananchi. Bunge wabadilisha kuhudumia mwananchi, hata uko state house. Hiyo nyumba hiyo wanasema ati hiyo nyumba ati msiende kwa hiyo nyumba. Hiyo nyumba ilijengwa na ushuru wa Wakenya. na mtu mwenye alijenga nyumba yake mpaka aende angalie hiyo nyumba inakaa namna gani. Hiyo nyumba inakaa namna gani? Tumepea mtu nyumba huko, tumempea nyumba kwa miaka 5. Sasa wale watu walimpatia hiyo nyumba kwa miaka 5, ati wasikanyage huko. Utakosaje kukanyaga kwa hiyo nyumba yako? Mtu anaishi, umempatia miaka 5, anaishi pale, alafu namwambia ati 100 meters. 100 meters ni nyumba ni yako, ulijeka na ushuru ya Wakenya. Hiyo State House ni nyumba yetu, bunge hiyo ni nyumba yetu, kotini ni nyumba yetu, kwa police station hiyo ni nyumba ya Wakenya. Mkenya ako na wakati wowote wa kwenda kutembelea hizo nyumba, si nyumba ya mtu. Police station si nyumba ya mtu, hii ni nyumba ya Wakenya. Hiyo ni nyumba ya Wakenya. Mkenya ana wakati yoyote ya kwenda kutembelea hiyo nyumba. Kotini huko, koti huko ni koti ya Wakenya. Mkenya ana uwezo na uninia kwenda kutembelea ile nyumba, hata huko State House, huko State House. So wasitusemee sisi ati mkifanya maandamano msiende State House. Watu wanafanya maandamano ukienda kwa ile nyumba ile walijenga na ushuru yao. Huwezi kuwakataza. So hao viongozi wasiwe na tamaa ya uongozi, wakuwe na hiyo uwezo ya kuhudumia mwananchi, lakini wasitumie polisi kutunyanyasa. Wajue polisi ya kwamba ni ndugu zetu, polisi ni dada zetu. So wanatakana wakuwa watumishi kwa wote. Watumishi, unajua mtumishi afanye maneno ya kutega nyara. Mtu mwenye anatega nyara naye ni mtumishi, sio mtumishi. Huyo ni mkora. Sio mtumishi. So tunataka kama ni Inspector General akuwe mtumishi kwa watu wote, akuwe mtumishi kwa wananchi wa Kenya. Kama ni Deputy Inspector ya polisi akuwe ni mtumishi. Kama ni rais akuwe ni mtumishi wa Kenya. Kama ni bunge kule wakuwe watumishi kwa sisi wa Kenya. Lakini wasiwe vibaraka, kwetu, wasitutawale kiimla. Wasitutawale kiimla. So sisi tunataka ile heshima wakati wanatawala wa Kenya, wakitawala Kenya na heshima. Wasione wamevaa uniform bunduki, anafikiria yeye ako juu ya sheria. Anafikiria yeye anaweza chukua maisha ya mtu wakati yoyote. Hiyo itawezekana. Hii ni Kenya na tupeane heshima kwa kila mtu yule anaishi Kenya. Wanasemanga hii Kenya itutoshe wote. Na tunaona hii Kenya yote inatosha wengine tumesukumwa kwa kona, tunajibana kwa kona. Hii matajiri wamesukuma sisi au viongozi wamesukuma sisi, tunajibana kama ile nyumba kama sel. Hiyo seli nimejaa watu wanasimama, ndio serikali imetubana. So tunataka hii inji itutoshe wote. Mtoto yangu akikuwa kwa shule, akiona mtoto ya polisi, amuone kama mtumishi ya watu. Asione kama baba yake ni muuaji. Wameweka hiyo vitu mpaka kwa shule, wameweka hiyo vitu mpaka kwa soko. Mtu akiona hata polisi anaona polisi kama adui, na walikuwa marafiki zetu. Hata hawa wabunge hao wamekuwa adui. Hakuna mbunge yule anayeenda mahali hawajakuwa na mwananchi. Itakuwa mzuri wakiwa na mwananchi, itakuwa mzuri, lakini wakikosa kuwa na mwananchi, then mambo itakuwa ni mbaya. So hii Kenya tuweke Kenya hii tutoshe wote. Asanteni.
Asante Wandomani kwa maoni mazuri. Wacha tumsikize Bernard. Unmute Bernard, tukupati.
Thank you. Undumani wewe, tutakutana nyuma ya tent na masuala ya kina mama. Wewe maneno ya kugurupu kina mama alafu unaweka kwa kikapu kimoja, hiyo kazi tutashughulikia kibiblia na kihistoria na kiafrika. Lakini tutasema hivi, swala la anaitwa nani, Kindiki na Faruku kuzunguka na mfuko wa pesa ati wanafanya empowerment, hiyo ni wizi wa mali ya umma, na ni kufanya sheria isikuwe na nafasi katika mgawa wa nchi. Mgawa wa nchi inamaanisha idara ama inaitwa idara, institution ambayo imesimamia masuala ya kugawa hela vile zitakavyotumika katika nchi ni bunge, sio Faruk, sio Kindiki na sio Ruto. Hela yeyote ambayo inaenda sehemu fulani katika kazi ya serikali ambayo haijapitishwa na bunge, hiyo ni wizi, hiyo ndio ufisadi. So kile Kindiki na Faruk na wote ambao wanasupport maneno ya empowerment kwa masuala ya kubeba pesa kwa magunia wakipelekea kina mama ati wanapelekea youth, hao ndio wafisadi wa kwanza, na hao ndio wanahujumu maendeleo ya nchi. Kwa nini? Nchi inapaswa kuendelea katika kikatiba. Kulikuwa time ya Moi, wale mnakumbuka kulikuwa na kitu ilikuwa a district for rural development, something like that. Hiyo ndio ilikuwa sampuli ya devolution, na pesa zote ambazo zilikuwa zinatumika katika district development ilikuwa inapitishiwa hapo. So hii ya kando kando ndio ya wizi. Mtu amechallenge Kindiki, kabla hatoi hiyo hela atupatie kopi ya cheki account ile hiyo pesa imetolewa, na anasema hii ni yangu binafsi, si ya serikali. Kama hawatoi hiyo, basi ni kweli kwamba hiyo pesa wanayotembea nayo ni ile yetu ya ushuru, na wanatembea nayo kisiasa. Kile wanafanya sio empowerment, ile wanafanya ni kuiba mioyo za Wakenya ama kuhadaa Wakenya waamini tena, kwa sababu wanajua hawaaminiki. So Kindiki na Faruk na wote ambao wanahusika, hao ndio vibaraka wa William Ruto kwenda kuhadaa Wakenya kwamba hata kama mmefinyika kidogo, tumewaletea kitu kidogo. Hata kama serikali inakaa kama kwamba haiko sawa, lakini sisi ndio wale tumekuja kuwa boost hapa na pale. Hiyo hela yote iko kinyume na sheria. Hiyo hela ni ya ufisadi, na wale wanaohusika nayo ni wafisadi. Na cha muhimu hapa, yule anayeongoza hilo kundi ni mfisadi number 1. Na hiyo hela haiwezi kusaidia yeyote, kwa sababu hela inawekwa kwa kikundi. Kuna sehemu nilikuwa nakaa, ukawa na kulikuwa na hela ilikuwa wanapeana kwa groups. So kuna group moja ikatengenezwa hapo wakatengeneza mpaka wakatengeneza ofisi nini. Si wakapewa milioni 1. Milioni 1 ilipofika hivi ilikuwa sijui ya youth empowerment. Haya, viongozi wa hiyo kikundi wakapotea na hela, kikundi kikasambaratika. Utaenda kudai nani? So the same thing they did with Hustler Fund that has stalled is the same thing they are doing now on a high scale, and it's all destructive. This is what is destroying the economy. This is what is making Kenyans not able to support themselves. Why? Because the money meant for medicine is going around the country kwa magunia in the name of empowerment. Money meant for BCG, the vaccination for children who are born, is going to be roaming around with Kindiki in the name of empowering women. This is madness. I was watching a video of what Traore has established as a free tech university, free tech, ambayo unajileta tu, chakula utapewa, pakulala utapewa, laptop utapewa ya bure, masomo ni ya bure. Na hii university unaingia kwa sababu uko na interest na computers, hauhitaji masomo ya class 1, uhitaji certificate yoyote. Wewe kuja onyesha kalenda yako, unakuwa admitted, unaanza masomo. Hii ni nchi ambayo imekuwa baadhi ya nchi ambazo ni maskini sana. Kenya iko mbele yake. Tulipromise watoto wa nursery school free laptop mwezi. Kwa nini? Watu wanazurura na magunia ya pesa. So William Ruto, Faruk, Kindiki, wote wanapaswa kuwa investigated for where this money is coming from, why this money is being given irregularly. The money is supposed to be given through parliament, not outside parliament. If it is being given outside of the provision of the constitution, then that is a violation. They should be arrested and prosecuted for the same. Will that make any difference? It will not. Let William Ruto pay the contractors. Contractors will go to Mama Mboga and buy mboga, and Mama Mboga business will thrive. Not for him to roam around with money in the name of he's going to empower women and empower wherever the youth. Let, like Kundumani said, build an industry. Hii maneno ya affordable housing is not necessary. Cancel affordable housing, go and build an industry in each and every county. Let us see how many young people will stay in Nairobi when there are jobs in Kakamega, there are jobs in Busia, there are jobs in Murang'a, there are jobs in Isiolo. Who will be coming to Nairobi kujaza Nairobi? Kama kazi iko nyumbani? So we need to have thinkers in this country, that the policy formulators in the country understand the dynamics of the country and lay out a plan that makes the country to thrive by itself. What William Ruto and Kindiki are doing is they want to make themselves necessary. They want to prove to Kenyans that nothing will go on without them. They must be danced for, they must be clapped for, and then they will drop something for Kenyans. We are not beggars. We are in our own country. This country is supposed to be operating on a predictable system where we know where we're coming from and where we are going. Not for us to wait for 7 months to see Ruto come, and another 7 months to see Kindiki come with a bag of stolen money. This is not it. And so Kenyans of goodwill, let's reject everything that is outside the law, outside the constitution. Hata hiyo mnaona sasa sadaka ilikataliwa. Kwa sababu sadaka ilikataliwa ndio wakafungua hii sasa empowerment. Ili kwa ile ilikuwa ya kununua makanisa, ndio hii sasa inaenda kununua wamama na kwenda kununua vijana. Yani hao watu wako hell bent to operate outside the law, to operate outside the constitution. Kwa nini hawataki kufuata sheria? Kwa sababu wamechagua wawezi na kuendeleza masuala ambayo hayafai. Hii nchi inahitaji ukombozi, na huo ukombozi unapaswa kushinikizwa na kila Mkenya. We need a country that is operating on a predictable system, not this benevolence, goodwill, siasa mbaya, maisha mbaya. Let's forget that madness and get back to working out a country that is able to raise its people, defend its people, feed its people, treat its people without complaining. Burkina Faso is performing miracles. Wamefungua maji is a landlocked country. Wamefungua maji ambayo inasambazwa kila mahali. Barabara ndio hizo zinatengenezwa na wali awaongezi ushuru. Traore amefutilia mbali ushuru wa aina yote. Anasema kama wewe ni investor, kuja na hela yako, weka industry. Hakuna haja ya maneno tutakuwa taxed. No taxes. And the country is thriving. Yasi tuko hapa, we are taxing everything. Oxygen, mouthpiece, earpiece, anything, mask, anything is being taxed. Yet, we don't have enough to take care of the people. Hakuna. So Kindiki na Faruku wanapaswa kukamatwa wakifika na hiyo furushi ya hela. Na wale ambao wanasifia hii masuala ni kana kwamba hawajasoma historia ama hawaelewi ni kipi kinachoendelea. Moya amefanya hii miaka 24. Tulikuwa na barabara kama ulimi wa umbwa. Kutoka Nairobi kwenda Kakamega ilikuwa inateka 12 hours kwa Akamba bus. Unaingia saa 12 hapa, utafika na Kakamega saa 12. No infrastructure development, nothing. Kwa nini? Moya anatembea na magunia akisema tingiza harambe ndio imesababisha inji hii kubaki mahali imebaki. Hatuwezi kurudisha harambe. Kibaki alibadilisha inji hii in less than 5 years kwa kufutilia mbali harambe. Sisi tunarudisha harambe kwa nini? Faida ya harambe ni nini? Acha nimalizie hapa. So Kindiki, Faruku na genge lake wote wako nje ya sheria na wanapaswa kukamatwa.
Thank you Bernard, kwa haya maoni mazuri. Natumai Wakenya wameyapata na wameyasikia vyema, na nazidi kuwapongeza kwa wale wote ambao wanazidi kujiunga na sisi, na wale wote wanazidi kutazama, na wale wote ambao wanazidi kuita wengine ili waweze kujiunga na sisi na tuweze kusonga mbele pamoja, manake siku zote hapa ndipo nyumbani wa kila mmoja, na kila mmoja ameruhusiwa kutoa maoni yako, kwamba ili tuweze kuyasikia na tuweze kuyafuata pia, na tujue kwamba pia na wewe yako ni yapi kuhusiana na nchi yetu. Tunapozidi kuzidi kusonga mbele, kuna kipindi cha pili ambacho nakuja nacho, lakini nataka tutamatishe hiki kipindi then tukuje na kipindi kingine. Niwacha nianze na Ondomani kabla nirudi kwa Bernard. Ondomani, naomba utupe mawaidha kufungasha kama Wakenya kwa yale yote yametokea, yale tumeongea na yale ambayo tujaongea, ungependa kwamba tuyaweke sawa kama Wakenya.
Tukiwa Wakenya, naanza na viongozi wakuwa waaminifu. Once wakiwa waaminifu, inji itaenda mbele. Lakini wakiwa wakora, inji itasambaratika. Kwa sababu tunaona huko Ikulu waseme ukweli, bunge waseme ukweli, kotini huko waseme ukweli, polisi waseme ukweli. So kama inji iko na watu wakora, inji iko na watu wa wash, inji iko na watu wale hawaongei maneno ya ukweli, wanaongea tu maneno ya uongo, na ni wesi namba moja, inji wesi kusonga mbele. Lakini kama inji inataka kusonga mbele, wakati unauko katika hiyo kiti ya serikali, ujue hii kiti ni ya serikali, na hii kiti wakati hii umepewa hiyo ofisi inatakana uhudumie kila mtu, akiwa mwenda simu, akiwa si mwenda simu, inatakana uhudumie mtu, uhudumie wa Mkenya, uhudumie Mkenya, umpee huduma. Kwa bunge inatakana wapee wa Kenya huduma. Huko State House inatakana wapee wa Kenya huduma. Kotini huko inatakana wapee wa Kenya huduma. Huduma ndio tunataka. Hata kwa polisi tunataka huduma peke yake. Hautaona vijana wako kwa barabara kufanya maandamano. Hiyo maandamano wataona. So serikali, ni jukumu ya serikali kupatia Wakenya mustakabali, ili wajue Wakenya wanaelekea wapi. Vile Bernard amesema kule Burkina Faso, huko Burkina Faso si ati miujiza. Hii vitu iko Kenya hapa, ndio iko tu Burkina Faso. Wakibadilisha tu mbinu, wafunge mwanya ya ufisadi. Wakishafunga mambo ya ufisadi, alafu kila mtu afanye kazi kulingana na sheria. Na hii sheria inatakana ianzie kwa rais. Rais akivunja sheria, hata polisi atavunja sheria, hata wabunge watavunja sheria. Lakini rais akiwa ni mtu wa msimamo, hawezi kuvunja sheria, then kule chini watavunja sheria. Kwa sababu hivi vitu yote ikiharibika, ule mtu tunalaumu ni serikali. Huyo ni rais. Hii mtu tunalaumu yote, hii maneno yote, kama jinsi kukufa tunalaumu rais. Kama watu kukosa ajira tunalaumu rais. Kama ni watu kwenda maandamano tunalaumu rais. Hiyo yote, mambo yote inakuja kwa rais. Haitakuja kwa amiri jeshi, haitakuja kwa inspector general, haitakuja kwa DCIO, haitakuja kwa judges. Lawama yote tunaweka kwa nani? Kwa rais yule tulimpigia kura. Hatukumpigia inspector general kura. Hatukumpigia judge kura. Hatukupigia inspector wa kituo ya polisi kura. Tulipigia rais. So rais, wakati tunampigia hiyo rais kura, aweke hiyo nyumba yake mzuri, aweke hiyo kitanda yake mzuri, atandike hiyo kitanda yake mzuri. Hiyo kitanda ikuwe na manukato, Once ikuwe na manukato, utaona watu kwa barabara wanafanya maandamano. Ikiwa na manukato, utaona watu wanalia njaa. Ukiwa na manukato, utaona watu wanakosa kazi. So hii vitu yote tunalaumu nani? Tunalaumu rais. Hii yote iko kwa rais. So tunataka kila mtu afuate sheria. Rais afuate sheria, hawa kubwa wote wafuate sheria, na kila mtu afanye kazi yake. Afanye kazi, sio ufisadi. Tukipata pesa ya kutoka kule ng'ambo, hiyo pesa ikuje itengeneze viwanda. Ikishatengeneza viwanda, hao vijana wataenda kufanya kazi. Na mtu akifanya kazi akichoka saa 10 anaingia kwa nyumba yake kulala kwa sababu amechoka, hawezi enda kufanya mambo mengine. Lakini vijana tukiwaacha hivyo, hiyo ni bomu. Hiyo ni bomu ile itaripuka siku moja, hawatakosa mahali ya kuenda. Watakaa kule bunge, watakaa wapi? Hakuna biashara itatendeka kwa nchi. Hivi vijana wakiamua kufunga nchi, watafunga nchi, hata polisi watachoka. So ni hayo tu ndio mambo yangu na usia yangu kwa serikali, na wasiniletee Subaru.
Asante sana, ndio maana amesema siletee Subaru. Nasikiza Bernard.
Haya, unaogopa Subaru? Sawa sawa, kabla wafiki utakuwa umevuka mpaka. Wewe uko na serikali mbili. Uko safe.
Unaona Bernard? Bernard besi yako kwa salama hapa. Wateza kwa kama besi je huko wanakamata tu na kurudisha pande hii.
So, ukifika huko unakuwa na majina yako. Unajifanya kama flight. Unaongea wewe ni Mkongolizi. Unaenda kwa nini? Sawa sawa. Now, my take is we need to get our country in order, and the people in leadership should take their responsibility serious. We are sick and tired of people fighting to stay in office, but doing nothing in terms of fulfilling their responsibilities. There is no need of anybody fighting to stay in an office if he's not doing what that office requires him to do. And that includes the president's office, the deputy president's office, the parliament, the judiciary, and the rest of the people in leadership. Stay in office, do what that office requires you to do. Not for you to stay in office for you only to draw a salary, mismanage the public resources, and end up making life worse for Kenyans by refusing to leave office. When you are in that office, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. Kwa nini unang'ang'ania kukaa kwa ofisi na tukikwambia ufanye kile unapaswa kufanya utaki? Wewe unang'ang'ania kukaa jikoni. Mwambia tuasikia njaa, ambia nyamazeni. Jikoni achia yule anaweza kupika, pike tukule tunyamaze. So masuala ya maandamano, masuala ya extrajudicial killings na vile tunashughulikia masuala ya uvunjaji wa sheria katika nchi hii, sisi ndio tunafanya nchi inakaa mbaya na tunafanya maisha ya Wakenya yanakuwa mbaya kwa sababu hatutaki kufuata matakwa ya katiba. Katiba ndio mkataba wetu na wananchi. Tukiweka katiba kando, hakuna rais, hakuna bunge, hakuna judiciary, hakuna wananchi wa Kenya. Mkataba wetu na yeyote yule katika nchi hii upo katika katiba. So wakati tunaweka katiba kando, eti katiba ailindi matakwa ya chama chetu, ama unaona kile Kindiki anasema ati anatembea na gunia la pesa kwa sababu Ruto alipromise wa Kenya kwamba atajenga markets, ataempower kina mama. Ahadi za Ruto haziko kwa katiba na tutaki nchi iongozwe nje ya katiba. So ahadi za Ruto, hiyo ni mzigo wa Ruto. Hauhitaji kutumia pela ambazo zinatoka wapi? Ni za Wakenya, alafu zinatumika kinyume na sheria wakati bunge halijapitisha. There is no parliament allocation, and then you are running around with money because you want to fulfill a promise that was made by Ruto. No. Let Ruto operate within the constitution. So should Kindiki, and so should every other Kenyan, especially those in a place of responsibility. Lastly, for the police officers, remember your responsibility. Bunduki uliopewa ni ya kulinda wa Kenya, sio kuua wa Kenya. na una ruhusa ya kuua yeyote, hata yule mhalifu kabisa, yule mmempata akivunja bank. Jukumu lenu ni kuhakikisha kwamba anakuwa arrested, produce the person before the judge. You don't have the capacity to prosecute and execute any Kenyan. So hii masuala ya kusema goons, infiltration of criminals and all that, there is no criminal that should be killed by police. Police is supposed to arrest the criminal, produce the criminal to the judge. The judge is the one to sentence the criminal. So this mentality of concluding that every person you think is a criminal is a criminal, any person you suspect to be a criminal is a criminal, is a fallacy that must end. And you police officers, mnaona wale polisi walienda kuua Pepe Pendo wako kizimbani, siku yenu inakuja. Usifikirie mnaua kwa jina la serikali, sijui jina la UDA ama jina la Kenya Kwanza. Hawata kusimama na wewe wakati uko kizimbani, unapaswa kujibu maswali. Kwa nini Ojwang aliwawa? Kwa nini Msando aliwawa? Kwa nini hawa watu wote ambao wamewawa mikononi mwa polisi? Siku yenu inakuja. Kama hutaki kuwa kwa hii list, tumia punduki ipasavyo, tumia akili ipasavyo, tumia mamlaka uliopewa ipasavyo. Asante.
Thank you, Bernard. Thank you, everyone, for those who have made it to this time. But I want to ask you one thing, as even we are concluding. We started with this, and then I also want to end up with this. Nimeuliza tu kwamba if you're feeling that you can want to be part and parcel of this. I'm sorry, yesterday we didn't have the show because of some a little bit technicality we have with the electricity, but today we have managed to get over it, and then we are here tonight. So I need we support it so that we can ease technicalities. Kama easy, we have a backup plan and also other plans. So unaweza cheza kiwewe. If you are in Kenya, you can use the till number, which is 516575, or you can use the Bernard's number is down there, and God will bless you. Please let us just take a minute or two. Let us do so. Cheza kiwewe too. We are watching a lot of us. We are watching many of us. We don't want this show stops because of 1 or 2 years substance that are not adding up. So let us just come up together. Let us support the Sound Candy Talk, and it will be good via M-Pesa number. The M-Pesa number is +254 718 454 585, and it will be good. For those who are in Kenya, your single number is 52686575. It will be good also. I want to get the response from you so that we can be able to make the channel be vibrant. We can be able to make sure everything runs smoothly without staggering, also without even dragging, and having a great conversation together. Because when we are having the good conversation like this is things that affect our nation so much, and it will be good. But before we go, kitu moja tunataka muniambie hii inamaanisha nini kabla tufumukane kabisa. Is this something that Matiang'i said today? Let us just watch this and then muniambie nasema nini before we go, please. Just hii moja tu.
Fred Matiang'i has called for a public inquest into the unresolved murders in the country, including Raila bodies, saying he had nothing to do with the killings of 36 Kenyans whose bodies were retrieved from the river. And despite President William Ruto disbanding a DCI unit called the Special Service Unit, SSU, linked to the deaths, another unit is said to be in operation and has been linked to the recent spate of abductions and extrajudicial killings in the country. Here's Emmanuel Tor.
They remain one of the most controversial killings in Kenya, as the country was treated to weeks of shocking retrieval of mutilated bodies from River Yala, Siaya County in 2021. To date, the murders are still unresolved.
I, William Samoei Ruto.
President William Ruto had before and after assuming power termed the deaths as state-sponsored, with the name of the former Interior CS, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, coming up whenever the topic is brought up.
Thanks for asking me that question.
Tuesday, the former CS, in an exclusive interview with Citizen TV, breaking his silence on the matter, giving fresh details of the events before and after the bodies were discovered, dumped in the infamous river, with a DCI team dispatched to the scene.
The DCI spent some time there with a team from the DCI. When they came back, we asked for an inquest.
Matiang'i calling for an open public inquiry into the mysterious murders.
We go face the inquest, and I'm ready to go before a magistrate or a judge, whoever it is going to preside over that inquest, and say what I know about it.
The former super CS in retired President Kenyatta's government also defending himself over any involvement.
What happened with the file? I didn't live with the file. The minister, by dint of even the law itself, you cannot be part and parcel of the operations. We are not saying the minister is in charge. When the bodies were traced out there last week, I didn't hear anybody saying Kipchumba Murkomen is dumping bodies at Raila and so on.
According to a report released by the Missing Voices organization in 2022, 12 bodies had head injuries, 2 abdominal and chest injuries, 1 drowning, 1 head and chest injury, 3 strangulation, 1 peritonitis, while 5 were undetermined. However, it is the abduction, disappearance, and subsequent murder of a Kenyan taxi driver and 2 Indian nationals, Zaid Kidwain and Zulfikar Ahmed Khan, by a suspected killer squad from the DCI dubbed Special Service Unit SSU that became the proverbial last straw that broke the camel's back. The lives of the 2 Indian nationals 2 weeks to the August 2022 general election ruthlessly ended. A month after taking over power, President Ruto made this pledge.
Mimi nimeamurisha juzi ivunjwe ile ilikuwa inaitwa special sijui nini ya police ambayo ilikuwa inaua wa Kenya kiholela.
4 years since the operation of the killer squad were exposed, and 2 years after a promise to end its operations, it seems the unit may have just mutated to a different one.
So Operation Support Unit is the one which replaced SSU, and it is doing exactly what SSU used to do.
The recent abduction of blogger Thiang'ui Kinyagia, who is still missing after being picked up by individuals alleged to be DCI officers, adding to the list of abductions. Emmanuel Cho, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Justice Chacha Mwita has extended all.
Hii imeguza roho yangu, ndo nikasema kabla tuende tu tuiongelee tu kifupi ndo tuishi tuende. Acha nianze na undumani.
Unajua ndugu yangu, kama umesoma literature hii unajua tu Biblia inasema ya kwamba kile kilifichwa kwa giza kitaonekana wazi peupe. Ukificha vitu kwa giza itaonekana. So nani anafanya nani anateka watu nyara sai? Sasa wanatega wakati ile walikuwa wanachukua watu usiku au wanatega kisirisiri. Sasa vile waliingia kwa madaraka wanachukua sasa hadharani mchana peupe. Sasa hapo iko nyota ile unaweza kusoma kweli. Hii watu walikuwa wanatupo kwa Nzoia ni ile tu serikali hii tu serikali hii tu. Kwa sababu hiyo vitu walikuwa wanafanya kama wanaficha. Sasa vile walikuwa wanafanya vile wanaficha, sasa imekuwa hadharani. So sisi tunasema namna hii, mimi nasema namna hii. Hapo itakani ile ati kusoma ya sayari, hapana. Kusoma ya sayari pale hakuna. Kama yalivunja hiyo, na hiyo ndio ilikuwa inaleta inaua watu, akaleta hii ingine sasa ndio inafanya hadharani kama tunaona na macho nani ndugu yangu. So wasiingilia hapo Matiang'i ako mweupe kama pamba. Tunajua ya kwamba Matiang'i amekuwa katika education, amekuwa katika hizi ministry zingine, ndio Uhuru akaona ya kwamba kwa hizi ministry zingine zote anafanya kazi mzuri, amlete katika interior. So wakati walimlete Matiang'i katika interior, ndio hiyo vitu aliingia katika interior kama hivi vitu imetendeka kitambo. So hii vitu ilikuwa inatendeka kitambo, wanafunika. Sasa hii ndio wanafanya hadharani. Hii wanafanya sasa hii mchana peupe, lakini ile ilikuwa inafanywa kwa giza. Sasa hii inafanywa kwa peupe. So sisi tunajua mambo ya Matiang'i, wawache Matiang'i ako mweupe kama pamba, wasiweke dosari kwa sababu anataka kupigania kiti ya urais. Hii sisi hatutakubali matope ipakwe. Ile mafi walikunia mpaka mtu mwenyewe afanye namna gani aipanguse, kwa sababu nasema ya kwamba yule alikunia alisahau, yule alikunia alisahau, na yule alikanyaga hakusahau, yule alikanyaga hakusahau. So huwa ya kwamba wako ndani ya hiyo serikali, lakini tunajua kutoa ile inaitwa namna gani, chafu kwa wimbi. Unajua wakati unataka kutoa chafu kwa wimbi, unapepeta na unatingiza na mnaita chafu inajitoa kando. So hao wanajijua wenyewe, wasione ya kwamba Matiang'i anataka kusimama kiti ya urais alafu anaweka yeye madoadoa. Matiang'i amesema mzuri, yeye akiitwa atatoboa kila kitu, atasema kila kitu, na tunataka wakati wanaanza kusema maneno hii mpaka maneno ya Msando, tunataka kuona nani aliua Msando. Hiyo yote hiyo maneno ya nyuma hiyo, akifungua hii kidonda hii, wakifungua hii kidonda, wafungue ile ya Jacob Juma, wafungue ile ya Msando, wafungue ile zingine tu, zile za Kinanga Saitoti yote wafungue, ndio tujue ni nani alifanya hiyo. Hata mpaka hii ya ule mwenye alianguka na ndege, huyu alikuwa jemedari wa jeshi, mpaka hiyo iletwe, wakifungua yote hiyo. So hawa kama umeshindwa na siasa, waseme wameshindwa na siasa, lakini wasiseme Matiang'i alikuwa anatupa watu Rivayala. Rivayala iko na wenyewe ndio hawa tu wenye wanafanya abduction, hao ndio wenyewe. Hawa hakuna tofauti na Rivayala, hawa hawako tofauti na Rivayala. So nyani ya hiyo ni kundule, inaona kundule ya mwingine, so hakuna tofauti ndugu yangu, ni hayo tu.
Haya, wacha Benada tufungie basi.
Okay, I'm happy that Matiang'i has spoken on the matter, and you see that there was more that was happening in the government operatives or security operatives that are not necessarily decisions by the ministers. Haswa kuna ile masuala tunasema serikali inaitwa siri kali. Kuna masuala ya siri ambayo yanafanywa, hiyo inaitwanga deep state, na hiyo inafanyikanga parallel na serikali, but it's not within the system. Hao watu wanatekeleza hao maovu, kuna vile wamelindwa, lakini kuna mtu muovu ambaye anawasimamia katika serikali, na wamepewa kasumba ya kwamba mlao kubwa ni kulinda serikali, na katika hiyo kujaribu kulinda serikali ama kujitolea kulinda serikali ni kukamata wote ambao wanapinga serikali ama wana maoni tofauti na yale ya serikali. Na hiyo masuala yote inahusika na insecure leaders. Tuulize tu swali kwa hilo tukimalizia kabisa. Saa hii Matiang'i yako kwa cabinet? Hapana. Na si tumekuwa na mili Kware? Tumekuwa na mili wapi? Danzela alipatikana wapi? Kwa inaitwa nini? Dam. Tumekuwa na 30 over 60 killed in 2024 kwa Gen Z protest. Tumekuwa na hapa wanasema kuna 32, kuna 19 different figures. Hii ilikuwa ya juzi. Hao ndio Matiang'i amewaua. So inamaanisha yule alikuwa anaua watu bado ako kwa serikali, na sio Matiang'i ama wale wengine walikuwa kwa nini wako nje ya serikali. Yule mtu alikuwa anaua watu ama yule alikuwa anapeana order watu wauawe yuko kwa serikali. That is why watu wanaendelea kuuawa, watu wanaendelea kushikwa, watu wanaendelea kuchukuliwa, na serikali ilibadilishwa. So if the person that was behind the kidnaps, the killings, has left government, the government will be operating differently. Now that we have the same things happening like they were happening previously, who was in both of these governments.
Yeah, ndo bana. Oh. Haya, tumewachwa na maswali ya kujibu na tumewachwa na maswali ya kuweza kuyaangazia pia, na nazidi kuwashukuru wote ambao mmefanikisha haya makala siku ya leo, manake mmezidi kuyafanya kwa bora zaidi, na nazidi kuomba tu tuache tupatane kwa kipindi ambacho kinakuja kiufupi tu kwa dakika